year long in the state of Washington, there's a simmering competition between East and West. But this week, Apple Cup week, it's not so much East and West. The state of Washington becomes a boiling cauldron of Cougars and Huskies. And we all know how well cats and dogs get along. The Huskies have already nailed down their third consecutive Rose Bowl berth, thanks to a stingy defense, shifty quarterback Mark Brunell, and swashbuckling tailback Napoleon Kaufman. The Cougars counter with bowl hopes of their own, the most improved defense in the Pac-10, and an offense capable of striking anywhere at any time. Get out your purple and gold or your crimson and gray. It's the Washington Huskies and the Washington State Cougars. Apple Cup 92 up next on Prime Sports Northwest. From Martin Stadium on the campus of Washington State University in Pullman, Washington, it's Pac-10 Conference football as the Rose Bowl-bound Washington Huskies take on the 7-3 Washington State Cougars. Hello, everyone. I'm Bud Namick, along with former Cougar quarterback Clete Casper and former Husky kicker Chuck Nelson. We have an absolutely perfect day for the Apple Cup. It's snowing, it's blowing, and it's downright frigid. Chuck, it's perfect Apple Cup weather.
Well, if you're going to play an Apple Cup in late November in Pullman, you cannot be surprised to get weather like this. It will obviously affect how both teams play. We'll explore that later in the broadcast.
Clete, this is an omen, I guess, maybe for Washington State. The last couple times it snowed, the Cougars have fared well in this game.
No, all of a sudden the odds are in our favor. We're 14-point overdogs now.
Let's take a look at the Pac-10 standings. Of course, the Huskies have nailed down the Rose Bowl berth and will try to do what no team has ever done before, win 3 consecutive Rose Bowl. Stanford, USC, Arizona, and Washington State comprising the upper echelon in the Pac-10, and Washington State trying to finish off with a 5-3 mark in Pac-10 play, while the Huskies try to nail down their Pac-10 title outright. When you get a chance to take a look at this Husky football team, there's one guy really who has stepped to the front, maybe a little ahead of his time because of injuries. Napoleon Kaufman has really had to bear a brunt on this offensive side.
He's not a big player. He's only 5'9", 170, and he has only started 5 games to this point, but he is the number 3 rusher in the conference. He's averaging almost 100 yards a game. He only needs 3 yards to go over 1,000 yards. For a small guy, he makes big plays. He is the type of player who can really bring a buzz of excitement just by touching the ball. He also returns punts. He returns kickoffs. They'll try to get the ball to him as many ways as he can. He has trouble standing up on a dry, hard AstroTurf. It'll be very interesting to see how he reacts to a slippery field today.
Kaufman with 3 yards to become the first sophomore ever to gain 1,000 yards for the Washington Huskies. Other side of the football for the Washington State Cougars, the guys had a nice senior season, gained over 1,000 yards. Shambe Wright-Fair.
Shambe Wright-Fair is going to make his last trip down the tunnel along with a lot of his senior buddies. And as a senior, this Apple Cup brings a little bit more on top of the normal hype. And you can expect Shambe is going to come out and try to get off early and fire this crowd up.
Running game going to be that much more important in this football game because of the weather conditions?
Yeah, you have to look at it and say you're going to have to run between the tackles because you're not being able to get wide. You're just going to have to slog it out in the middle of the field and try to create field position with the wind and the snow.
Obviously, the weather is going to be a huge factor for both teams in this game. Chuck, other keys to the game as far as the Washington Huskies are concerned?
Well, the Huskies on defense subscribe very faithfully to the theory that a quarterback cannot throw the ball very well from his backside. They will line up a lot of people on the line of scrimmage. Sometimes they'll come, sometimes they won't. They will try to confuse Drew Bledsoe both physically and mentally. A byproduct of pressuring the quarterback is you're going to try to create turnovers. The Washington Huskies have had very good success creating turnovers and taking advantage of those and putting points on the board. The weather today will help create turnovers, and the Husky defense will try to add to that as well.
And Washington State has hurt itself offensively the past couple of weeks by turning the ball over.
Well, again, the weather will definitely be a factor. The Huskies feel like with that one-back offense where you've got a lot of people spread out and you don't have that many blockers, it's virtually a numbers game. If we can line up more guys to rush the quarterback than the Cougars have available to block him, the chances are that we'll get to Drew Bledsoe before he can make a big play.
We'll see what the Huskies can do. They've been able to get good pressure on Bledsoe the past 2 years. For Washington State, keys to this game?
Well, obviously the big plays always play a big part in this football game, and whether it's something created off a turnover or taking advantage of opportunities that are going to be created by people falling down today, that might be the biggest thing, is receivers running wide and wide open and having to make sure that they do execute and catch the ball once it gets there. We had a little trouble against Stanford Stanford executing when we needed to on the big play. And then the other piece of it from the defensive side is to try to contain Brunell. He's been able to create things by scrambling, which is probably his biggest asset. That might go away today a little bit, but if you are going to force him out of the pocket, force him to his right. Don't let him roll to his left, which is his strong hand.
All right, obviously the weather a major factor, the wind blowing, snow coming down. They've had the plows out on the field. We'll head down to the field and see what the footing is like. See if these guys are going to be able to run some pass patterns and kick and catch the football. We'll head down to the sidelines, have the starting lineups, and kick off Apple Cup 92. When we return in just a moment, you're watching Pac-10 football on Prime Sports Northwest.
And I can go for a jog later.
Well, as you can see, the snow plows have tried to do their job. At least for the time being, you can see the yard markers. But as you progress towards the end zone from the 20s, where the plow has been just a short while ago, you cannot see the lines at all. Those officials are going to have an interesting situation. The boos that you hear are for the Husky captains who have made their way out on the field. Washington leading this series that began with a 5-5 tie. Last time the Cougars won was right here in the snow in Pullman in 1988 when the Cougs were on their way to the Aloha Bowl, and Washington with the 3-game winning streak, including last year's victory. The Huskies have been putting a lot of points on the board in the last couple of Apple Cups, and they are right now just ahead of Washington State in offense in the Pac-10. They are second in overall defense. Washington State 11th in the nation in passing offense, and pretty balanced, as are the Huskies offensively. Well, the big story is down on the field, and Rich Waltz is joining us for this Apple Cup broadcast. Let's head down to the sidelines and see how just bad it is down there. Rich?
Well, but it's almost like the set of Ice Station Zebra down here. You were talking about the snow plows. Where there is some green, there is traction. I talked to both sets of receivers, and they both shook their heads and said, hey, we can't plant, we can't cut. Neither side will say it's good for the offense or it's good for the defense. There are so many theories about that. There are heaters on both sides. Both teams will be wearing gloves, but not different gloves that they wear every day. Not too much special cold weather gear, so it will be very interesting to see how these two teams react. But
Rich, thank you, and you can see how difficult it might be for Mark Brunell to pick out the Husky receivers. Rich, wearing that white parka, kind of blends in with the snow. And Clete, that's something you were talking about in a snowy field. It makes it tough on the quarterback for the visiting team.
There's going to be a lot of confusion in the secondary. They're not going to be able to run their normal routes, so you just can't pick out a spot and say, hey, my guy's supposed to be running down on a 12-yard out, and that's where I throw the ball. With all this slipperiness, a lot of the planning goes away as far as the passing game. You just got to do the best you can.
The Cougars seniors, who are making their final appearance in Martin Stadium, making their way out one by one as they're being announced. They get the hug and the handshake from Mike Price. In the meantime, the officials are huddled with the captains of the two teams at midfield. And I believe they've had the coin toss and they're trying to sort things out. And we'll keep you posted on that. That's Jim Eicher you saw, who is not in uniform, had back surgery to take care of a disc problem earlier this week. And Robbie Tobeck, the starting center, slides over on his belly to the Cougar bench. It's going to be an interesting one.
They're arguing right now at midfield about who's kicking and who's receiving, and more or less which direction the kick is going. The Cougars are arguing pretty vehemently with the head official. The Huskies will kick and take the win.
It looks like the Huskies actually won the toss and took the win, and then the Cougars elected to receive and were forced to go into the win. That will be a big, big factor. Field position, always important, even more important in a bad weather game. You want to give your offense as short a field to play on as possible.
Well, Chuck, early on, obviously, throughout this entire game, as we get a good look at the field, kicking is going to be difficult. Is it going to be a tough situation to get a good kick off for the Huskies here?
It will be extremely difficult. You have to realize that when you're kicking a football, particularly soccer style, you're basically running at it and then trying to stand on one leg. It's hard enough to do on a dry field, but when you have a slippery field like this, trying to generate some leg power, generate some speed into the ball, and still stand up will be extremely difficult.
Well, the Cougar rally squad is out on the field trying to entertain the fans, and the officials are trying to get them off. They want to start the football game.
Those guys want to get this thing over with.
The officials will have a difficult task, especially determining if a player is inbounds, perhaps on a sideline type catch. Don James, the top dog, the head of the Huskies, taking his team to the Rose Bowl for the 3rd consecutive year. He has won more games than any coach in Pac-10 history. The 15 that you see on Don James's cap in memory of Travis Spring, a member of the Husky football team who passed away prior to the season. Yeah, you need to be bundled up to be ready for this football game. Die-hard fans who have tried to stay inside the field house as long as they possibly could, and now the stands beginning to swell. Travis Hansen will kick it away for the Huskies, the junior out of Meade High School in Spokane, younger brother of former Cougar All-American kicker Jason Hansen.
Chuck, before we get started here, I'd just like to officially kick this off and say that I hate your guts.
Well, I will be the one then to maintain a certain level of decorum and try to maintain somewhat of a professional attitude about this. And
I'll stay in the middle and try to be the director.
And I'll try to be professionally professional and root for those guys in the gold helmets without anybody knowing about it.
All right, it is Apple Cup 92 on the field and in the booth. And before you at home start saying that we got a cushy job, we're outside too. Hansen gets a good foot into it, and Darren Pointer, who is playing with a hip pointer, sets it down, and the Cougars will start on their own 20. Drew Bledsoe, is this his final appearance in Martin Stadium? Even he doesn't know that. He'll make the decision when the season is over. He'll have Butch Williams at tight end, Bobo, Davis, and Pointer on the outside. Shambe Wright-Fair, number 2 in the Pac-10 in rushing in the backfield. Bailey, Dunning, Tobeck, Pimiskern, and Tribble across the front line. Bob Garman has been bothered by the flu and that neck stinger. He will play. Andy Mason, one of the outside linebackers, along with Jaime Fields, and we will take a look at that entire Husky defense in just a few moments. That guy's dressed appropriately.
They carved him out from just outside the stadium here about 3 days ago. He has warmed up enough now. He's able to come to today's big.
That's the Iceman that they found.
That's right.
You can see the officials had to do a little work in terms of making sure the chains were correctly set. William Richardson is the referee. Dennis Angel is the umpire. We are set for the first play from scrimmage. Apple Cup 92. That was Boone Borden, believe it or not, who was lined up in the backfield. Mike Price starting some of the seniors. Borden, the senior wide receiver, is also the holder. Wright-Fair is a senior, and his first carry will net about 3 yards.
Are you sure?
Brought down by DeMarco Farr. As you see, DeMarco, the nose tackle. Steve Hoffman, the redshirt freshman. Jamal Fontaine, outstanding defensive end. Hoffman and Clifford, the anchors inside. Hoffman, a finalist for the Butkus Award. And the secondary with Walter Bailey, actually wears number 23. Tommy Smith is not here. Lewis Jones starts in his spot. Shane Powikoa, the free safety. And Josh Moore is the other cornerback, and our microphone is frozen on the field.
We already have a personal foul penalty. Emotions run high, and the first casualty of that is a over-anxious Husky defender. Personal foul on the Huskies. Quick 15 for the Cougs.
Mike Price in his 4th year as the head coach of the Washington State Cougars. Mike, as a player at Washington State, a graduate assistant at Washington State, an assistant coach at Washington State, and now a head coach at Washington State, has never beaten the Huskies. And he has a hard time putting into words what it would mean to him to get a win in this game.
Well, he's more than due for one.
Line of scrimmage, the 38 of Washington State. Bobo lines up in the backfield and now goes to the slot position on 1st and 10. Cougars will try to throw it against the wind. We've got a uncovered receiver, and C.J. Davis makes the catch, drops the ball. Who's going to get it? Cougars recovered it down at the 41 of Washington. But, Chuck, it looked like the Huskies had a little problem when the Cougars sent Wright-Fair in motion that time.
Tommy Wright-Fair came in motion out to the right. Mass confusion in the Husky defensive backfield, making adjustments. Ended up with James Clifford about halfway out on Shambe Wright-Fair. Obviously, the confusion carried over to the offensive left as well. A lot of people running in open space on that side of the ball.
Well, there's the first time the ball has been on the ground. It certainly is not going to be the last. 1st and 10, Washington State. Near the 41 of Washington. Brett Carolyn and Butch Williams in. Double tight end alignment for Washington State. Wright-Fair, that little counter, has running room. A blocker, he'll slide outside. and goes out of bounds about the 25. And the Cougars moving the ball well on this first possession. Cleat, we have seen this. What is going to become important for Washington State will be to cash this opportunity in.
Well, the first two things that I've noticed is the Huskies are a little bit unsure. Maybe Tommy Smith, a senior leader at strong safety who's not around, who helps direct this defensive secondary, has hurt him a little bit. But the thing that I've noticed is that it's going to be very difficult for a pressure defense to force Bledsoe to do the things because they're just not going to be able to get to him.
You can't get there fast enough. You don't have good enough footing in order to put the pressure on.
First and 10, Washington State at the Husky 24. Trips to the left for Drew Bledsoe, the junior out of Walla Walla. Right there is in the backfield. No tight end. Bledsoe with the deep drop, the little screen to right there. And a nice defensive play made by James Clifford, who is also an outstanding baseball player, first for the Husky team and last summer for the Bellingham Baby Mariners.
You get a look there why James Clifford is one of the best linebackers around, the number 2 tackler on this Husky defense. 3 lead blockers for Chambé Wright Fair. James Clifford evades them all, makes the tackle. Remember, he may not be the best inside linebacker on this team right now, but he was the leading tackler in the Pac-10 in 1989.
You won't find a better inside set of linebackers anywhere in college football. Philip Bobo out of the slot. 2nd and 12 after the loss of 2. Right fair, nothing there. And there's that man, James Clifford again.
Huskies like to send people even against the run. They do not just blitz in order to stop the pass. They send people in the gaps, make it difficult for Drew Bledsoe and his mates to throw it or run it.
One of the things that Washington State's passing game has going for it today is it's not an offensive that's structured around a lot of cuts. What they like to do is stretch things horizontally, and that might allow them to throw the ball successfully if Bledsoe can get enough time to throw.
3rd down opportunity for Washington State here. Short drop. Bledsoe guns it out, and it is caught by C.J. Davis. Out of bounds at the 5. That was a touchdown the other way for Josh Moore, but he could not hang on to it. And boy, what a game breaker that could have been. We have seen in the last 5 Apple Cups, 4 games, a touchdown interception return, and we could have seen one right there.
Well, you can't fault Josh Moore. He makes his break on the ball, gets a hand on it. A great play by C.J. Davis to stay with that catch. We talked about the Cougs need to take advantage of this opportunity. It's big plays like that that can help you take advantage of an opportunity.
1st and goal, Cougars at the 5. Sparks and Wright Fair in the backfield. 3 tight ends. Cougars have not shown this formation all year. Bledsoe to throw. It's incomplete. Wanted to get it to Brett Carolyn, who lost his footing, but the Huskies had it covered as well.
That 3rd down play, that tipped ball by Josh Moore becomes even more important when you factor in the weather and the fact that it would have been a 44, 45-yard field goal attempt.
There's no way you kick a 45-yarder in this weather today.
You don't even try. You can see a little bit of fumbling right off the bat. You can also see a little bit of fumbling at the opposite end. Brett Carolyn unable to get into that open space and get to that ball.
3 tight end alignment again. Same formation for Washington State on 2nd and goal from the 5. This is Sparks, who skates down to about the 3-yard line. And DeMarco Farr and Dustin Smith say hello to each other after the play.
You have to break out all your foul weather descriptions today. We've had guys sliding. We've had guys skating. We'll see some slipping and sliding.
In.
We saw, yeah, Butch Cougar came sliding in.
3rd and goal from the 3. Cleat, what do you think here? Are they going to throw it?
Well, I think that they've got to go ahead and just run it. Try to punch it through. They've got 3 plays here that to take advantage. This is the Apple Cup. They're not going for field goals.
Right fair, left side. Touchdown, Washington State. The Cougars have drawn first blood.
Chambé Wright Fair just going in. They're in that heavy alignment with the 3 tight ends. You see Dustin Smith getting a good block there. And then Derek Sparks with the lead block on the linebacker, creating just enough seam that he could snowball over.
Well, let's see what the kicking game can do. Boone Borden to hold, Quinn Magnuson to snap, and we have contact on the line. Now, if that's against the Huskies,
which it is,
it would move it into a situation where you might see Washington State go for 2, given the way the kicking game is.
What it also does is it moves the spot for the kick up off of the patch that Aaron Price had cleared.
So they declined it.
They just declined it. I've got this spot cleared. Let's just leave it there and kick it. Now they're going to think about it some more. So much strategy involved in these extra point situations. One thing we saw in the touchdown that's important to point out is in weather like this, it's whoever gets the initial leverage on the opposite player has the advantage because there's no footing in order to regain leverage.
Plus, we've got our snow tires on, and I don't think you guys brought them.
That's, guys are chaining up before the game.
And there is the official signal that the Cougars have declined the penalty. Aaron Price to try the left-footed boot out of the hole to Boone Borden. 23 out of 24 on the year for Price, but this will be a tough one. And he hit the upright, and it caromed left. So there is the first miscue in the kicking game. 11:35 left to play in the first quarter. Washington State 6, Washington nothing. You're watching Pac-10 football on Prime Sports Northwest. Washington State draws first blood in this Apple Cup 92, an 80-yard drive that took 9 plays, 3 minutes and 25 seconds. Chambé Wright Fair with his 9th rushing touchdown of the season. Those fans probably wouldn't mind sitting down for a while. Usually they'll stand during most of the Apple Cup, but they're probably not going to sit now because the seats are so wet and icy.
You know, Mark Whitmire was out here for the kickoff team, and you're trying to get people to stand up, and they said, nah.
Once they've got that dry spot, they're not going to stand up and take any chances.
No way.
Clayton, we saw Mark Brunell on the sidelines. What effect does it have on a quarterback to come out, warm up for the game, and then have to sit on the sidelines for a series?
Well, obviously you're cold. The one thing that is good, I guess, about this condition being snow and not rain is the balls usually are pretty dry. It's not that, you know, you just got a complete rock out there that's slipperier than heck. They're usually pretty dry when the snow's out here, and that's a little bit of an advantage if you can look for some silver lining anyway.
Aaron Price to boot it away. He'll have to have Curtis Geathers hold the ball down. Napoleon Kaufman and Jay Barry are deep. The 2 tailbacks. That is Kaufman in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. A dangerous return man. Cougars have done a pretty good job covering kicks. This is a very short kick, and it is taken by an up back, and he'll get out to the 40-yard line, and now the ball comes a little loose, and let's see what they have to say. It was Donovan Schmidt, backup linebacker, and it will be Husky football on about their own 39-yard line. Mike Price coming out to have a chat with the officials, thought things got a little out of hand there and wants them to keep control of this game early, and that's certainly something that's needed. As Mark Brunell comes out, completing 61% of his passes, he will have Mark Bruner at tight end, Joe Kralik and Damon Mack, the wide receivers, Kaufman and Matt Jones in the backfield. An outstanding offensive line headed up by the Lombardi Award candidate, Lincoln Kennedy. Good field position for the Huskies. Kaufman, the deep back. Jones in that fullback slot with a double tight end alignment. And Brunell going to the audible now, and he's not going to get this play off. He just did before the clock expired, and that's Jones, the fullback, who picked up 2, maybe 3 on the surge. The Cougar defensive front. Dwayne Patterson has been playing very well. Couple of sacks in the Stanford game. Anthony McClanahan, keep your eye on number 41. Some inflammatory comments made by Mr. McClanahan in the Seattle papers this past week. It'll be interesting to see if the Huskies look for number 41. And the secondary, the young and the restless, has done a nice job this year. Greg Burns, one of the top pass interceptors in the Pac-10. 2nd down and 8 for the Huskies. That ball's on the ground. Brunell does a good job just to fall on it. The Cougars say they have it.
Cougars got it.
Squirting around, we got a flag as well. Is it just me, or is it tough to see those penalty flags down there?
I believe that the Cougars are going to get their first personal foul here today. Singor Mobley came up real hard, and after the play was well over, took a shot.
Singor Mobley laid a lick on Matt Jones. Napoleon Kaufman came in to help. The lick on Matt Jones may have been before the play was over. Napoleon Kaufman's retribution was definitely after the play was over.
We'll have offsetting fouls.
It'll be after the play, so the play will go ahead and stand, much to Mark Brunell's chagrin.
Mike Price not too pleased about it either.
We have seen 3 personal fouls already. We have seen a number of face mask to face mask conversations going on.
That never happens in an Apple Cup, as we see the Cougar scoring drive.
Huskies not used to trailing. Only the 3rd time this season they've been behind. Came back to score 40 consecutive points, or 41 consecutive points on Stanford. Arizona obviously not able to come back.
Here's what it's all about when you're not in the game. Get some prime real estate next to that heater.
See him walk off the penalty against the Cougars, taking the ball into Cougar territory, and then they're going to walk it all the way back. Seems to be a production of the Department of Redundancy department. We end up right where we started.
Right where the play ended. Although the difference being that they have moved the chains, so it becomes should become a first down.
That's confusing to me.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they moved the chains in that situation. Now they have it a first down, which it would have to be. They give the Huskies the first down on that first penalty, and then they march it back. So there you go. So it is 1st and 25, we'll call it. And there's the pitch back to Kaufman. And he tries to stay on his feet and picks up about 5 yards on the play. And big Brian Ford in on the stop for Washington State, along with John Rushing and Torrey Hunter there as well.
You get a look there, too, at how Napoleon Kaufman will be somewhat neutralized by the field conditions. Puts on 2 moves and ends up running in a straight line anyway. Nice play by Dwayne Patterson there to force the pitch and still be a part of the play.
We'll call it 2nd and about 20 for the Huskies from their own 45. Kaufman, the lone man in the backfield. 3 wide receivers set for Mark Brunell on 2nd and long. Over the middle, and the pass is caught. Damon Barry with the catch and goes into Cougar territory at about the 43-yard line.
That's the kind of route you got to run if you're going to run a route, is go out, pitch, get the ball delivered, and then try to make the move as little as you have to get somebody to slide off you. Mike Price and Mike Levenseller were talking about, what's the strategy here? Do we want to go with the out routes? And Mike Price was saying, no, let's do the hitches, because then at least we got a chance to move the ball upfield after we catch a 2-3 yard pass.
You also have defensive backs that are going to be giving a lot of cushion, so that short passing game should be available.
Here's 3rd down and 10 for the Huskies. Brunell throws it, and it's incomplete. There was a little contact, and let's see, they're going to say the ball was too high, uncatchable, so no pass interference against Washington State. So the Cougar defense is held, and John Wardell will have to come on to punt, and a big ovation for the Cougar defense.
See the 3rd and 10 zone coverage. Torrey Hunter gets a bump on the back, but as Mark Brunell delivers the ball, he is throwing it with the wind. It sails on him a little bit. The ball is not a catchable ball, then the penalty gets waved off because it didn't stop him from catching it anyway.
Wardell's big job here is going to be trying to keep this ball in the field of play. I mean, this might end up in the library the way this wind's kicking around here.
Bruce Bailey, the snapper. Wardell ready to kick it away. Gets a good snap, gets the kick away, and it's a good kick. Torrey Hunter will let it go into the end zone. It hit, I see a ball mark at about the 4, I believe. And if he'd have got a little more backspin on it, backed it up towards the pin, it would have stayed out of the end zone. But the Cougars will start on their 20 again. We've got a timeout with 9:34 left to play in the first quarter of Apple Cup 92. It's the Cougars 6, the Huskies nothing. You're watching Prime Sports Northwest. Washington State with the football back, leading at 6-0 so far in the Apple Cup. Well, this is big tradition football weekend. It's the Oregon Ducks and the Oregon State Beavers, the Civil War. Pac-10 football, Monday, November 23rd at 8 o'clock right here on Prime Sports Northwest.
Well, the first offensive series that the Cougars had, they were really fortunate that they were able to move the ball like they did. The first pass was fumbled by CJ, recovered by the Cougars, and then Josh Moore was in real good position to pick that ball off. He just got a bit of it, and then CJ turned that in and took it down to the 5. So far the Cougars have benefited, I guess, from the breaks of the game here early.
When you're playing as the favorite on the road, too, you want to get off to a good start to try to get the crowd as subdued as possible. This crowd is anything but subdued right now. Cougars with a 6-0 lead.
There you see Washington State falling below the 400-yard mark in total offense for the first time this season. The Husky defense has been outstanding, giving up a few more yards this year than they gave up last year, but still outstanding, just over 10 points a game.
Yeah, they're second in the conference in points allowed, 6th in the conference in yards allowed.
First and 10, Washington State from their own 20, and Wright Fair gets the delayed handoff and gets out to about the 24-yard line. Had Michael Bailey trying to lead some interference for him.
Counter tray is a real good play, and the reason it's a good play is you've got the outside linebacker, in this case Jaime Fields, coming up field. He doesn't have the ability to plant his foot and make a move on that guard that's coming straight at him, and the guard knows where he's going to try to get to that inside shoulder, and Jaime's got to maybe not be as aggressive coming up field and come down the line a little more.
It's like I talked about leverage. Once that angle's set up, there's nothing you can do about it.
Play action, Bledsoe over the middle for Brett Carolyn, and it is incomplete. Carolyn covered well by Walter Bailey. And Bailey did a nice job because he gives up a few inches to Brett Carolyn. Let's go down to the Cougar sideline and talk to Rich Waltz.
One thing that happened in that first drive, Washington tried to jam the Cougars receivers on the corners. Once you get past that jam, the footing is pretty good. The receivers feel if they can get outside the jam, they can get open. Second series, the Huskies have dropped back.
We'll keep an eye on that. Rich, thank you. Bill the Beer Man also back there behind Rich. These two hanging out on the sidelines. Trips left Washington State on 3rd and 6. Bledsoe pressured and was trying to throw the up to C.J. Davis, and Davis was held by Josh Moore, but they'll say Davis wasn't going to be able to get away to get to that football anyway.
Try to run the out and up. Josh Moore gets a hold of C.J. Davis. There is no up portion. Huskies may have gotten a break there. Huskies, as they are wont to do, bring a lot of people. You see Hoffman coming, and Chambé Wright Fair takes care of him. Josh Moore takes care of C.J. Davis, and we get the chance to see if Steve Johnson can kick this ball into the wind. Punter's first job on a day like today is to make sure you catch the thing.
John Wardell did his job. Let's see if Steve Johnston can. He does, and he gets away. Nice kick, a driving kick. He will chase Bailey and Kaufman back, and they'll have to pick it up at about the 11 if they can. They just wisely decide to get away from it. Smart move by Walter Bailey, and a big, big punt by Steve Johnston from the Cougar 24 to the Husky 11. And Cleat, so often we have talked about field position, and that was a big swing there.
Well, that was huge. I mean, the reason the Huskies deferred the toss, deferred the kick, was because they wanted to take advantage of the wind, and that kick into the wind, it couldn't have been any better. I mean, that's huge. Steve Johnson's had a lot of trouble hitting low-line drivers that have been returned, and that's just incredibly big. That so far this first quarter, the Cougars have gone against the grain. They've scored a touchdown against the wind, and now they've turned the battle as far as field position back over to their defense. So nice job by Johnston there.
65-yard kick by Steve Johnston, his second longest of the year.
Those low-line drives are exactly what you're trying to do into the wind. Try to keep the nose down so the wind doesn't grab the meat of the ball. Mark Brunell and this Husky offense has their work cut out for him.
Brunell 1 for 2 on that first drive for 12 yards, as you could see. One thing that we have not had a chance to allude to yet, but an interesting situation should something happen to Mark Brunell. The Huskies would have to go with Damon Huard at quarterback, and that certainly would be a tough situation for Damon Huard to come into in an Apple Cup with this sort of weather.
Well, Damon Huard, considered one of the best quarterback prospects in the country when he was being recruited out of high school has certainly done nothing while he's been in the program to dampen that enthusiasm. He's 5 for 5 in extremely limited playing time. Obviously has moved up from the third quarterback position to the second quarterback position with the apparently permanent suspension and eligibility of Billy Joe Hobart. But Husky fans feel very good about the future of Damon Huard. This is not the way you want to break Damon Huard into a Husky career on a day like today.
There's a good picture of Johnston down there on the sidelines, and boy, he's really happy. He has had a little trouble with his confidence over the last 2 weeks, and that'll certainly help bring it around.
Huskies from their own 11. Brunell with the long count gives it to Kaufman, and there's a hole there, and he meets number 8 Singor Mobley and gets the first down. That wasn't easy. Napoleon Kaufman getting some drive against Singor Mobley. Tough to get that leverage going with your feet when you got a guy trying to tackle you high.
Napoleon Kaufman is one of the most powerful 5'9", 170-pounders you'll ever see. From the waist down, that backside and thighs look like he's about a 190-pounder.
And with that run, Napoleon Kaufman over the 1,000-yard mark, the first sophomore running back in Washington history to accomplish that feat, only the 6th Husky ever to go over 1,000 yards. And Kaufman this time gets about 3, run down from behind by Ray Hall.
Ray Hall did a good job of reading that play. He saw counter Trey. He saw the guard over him pulling, and he just followed in his tracks and got there again on a warm day with a fast track. Napoleon gets there and gets through that hole, but Ray did a good job just coming down lateral pursuit and making the tackle.
Huskies are going with 2 tight ends, or have gone with 2 tight ends. Now we see 2 wide receivers in the game. Things get a little bit simplified in weather like this. It becomes a little bit more mano on mano.
Brunell to throw, and the catch is made.
That was exciting. That was a pass play.
It was Jason Shelley, the true freshman, who was able to make the catch and ended up falling down as soon as he caught the football. Actually, he'll be down a little bit before he makes the catch.
Well, this is just like when you were a kid and you used to go out and try to play in football in really bad weather. You have trouble hanging on to it. That time, Mark Brunell kind of has to double clutch, trying to get a grip on it, wait for Jason Shelley to get his feet underneath him. Huskies just taking that 4 yards that the Cougs are going to give up with those big cushions.
19th catch of the year for Shelley, 3rd down, and 3, nobody in the backfield for Brunell. Pressured. Dwayne Patterson, looked like there could have been some holding. There's no flag as Brunell scrambles and slides out of bounds, and it'll be close, but it looks like he's a little shy as you see the linesman crawl over to mark the spot. We're going to see a little bit of everything.
Well, one of our keys today was to make, if Brunell was going to scramble, make him scramble to his right. And Dwayne Patterson comes upfield. You can see the little jersey tug there, but he's not able to quite get to the marker. And I don't even know if he knew where the marker was, but the official marked his hook slide a couple yards short of the first down.
The problem there was that all the receivers had run routes to the right side, so once Mark Brunell did clear Dwayne Patterson, he didn't have anybody on this side of the field to unload it to. Pursuit caught up with him 2 yards short of a Husky first down.
John Wardell to punt it away again. Torrey Hunter deep for Washington State. Hunter setting up camp on the Cougar 30. Wardell with a good kick his first time. Gets the snap and has plenty of time. This is not as good a kick, but it might take a good bounce. And it will take a very good bounce.
I don't understand why he didn't try and catch that ball.
And there you see, you couldn't tell. The Huskies didn't know which yard line it was on. They dove to stop it at the 5, and they actually had room to nail the Cougs back down. So we expected troubles for the punting game. And so far, Wardell has done a nice job twice, and Steve Johnston once. So the field position battle goes over to the Huskies in this case.
Well, the problems have not been with the punters. They have been with the punt receivers, unable to get to stop the ball. The field that's got this frozen as it is and slick as it is, the ball will not bounce backwards. It's going to go forward. You see the total yardage battle so far in favor of the Cougs. You can see that the Huskies have made up some ground. However, that opening drive, 80 yards. Now the Cougars with only 68 total yards.
61-yard punt by Wardell. Cougars will start from their own 5, leading 6-0 with 6:15 to play in the first quarter. Wright Fair breaks the tackle and gets out to about the 13-yard line. Gain of about 8 on that play. Hillary Butler came up and appeared to have Wright Fair stop, but Chambé was able to break the tackle.
Real good block by Butch Williams over on the Outside here, I don't think you'll quite see it. There you see he takes, no, I guess that was Tribble that was able to make the block. But Chambay's just doing his best job that he can going north and south, and important to pick up a first down here now. You got 2 plays to go 2 yards, and while that doesn't sound like much, it's an effort today.
That middle is open. Let's see if Bledsoe audibles to the sneak as he did against Stanford. He'll hand it off to Wright Fair, who's got a hole. And is chased down from behind. Andy Mason and Steve Hoffman make the stop, and Walter Bailey takes a swing at Calvin Schexnayder. And the officials quickly separate them.
Good job by the offensive line. Here you see there's Tribble again getting a good block on Hoffman, creating enough of a seam. Things are kind of look like they're going in slow motion, but good blocking up front. There you see everybody getting a piece.
Once you get into that defensive player, as Tribble and Phimisker do there, once again, you got 220 pounds moving forward with Chambay.
Bledsoe's pass to Davis incomplete. 2nd and 10 now from the 25.
Just trying to keep them honest, I think, so that we don't have 9 guys up on the line of scrimmage thinking run. Pretty much what you have to do in these conditions, especially going against the wind. Just a quick out. Not even close.
Thing to look at there, though, is you did see C.J. Davis lined up one-on-one with Jaime Fields. Jaime is as good a coverage man as you'll find from the outside linebacker position, but he is still an outside linebacker.
Trips left. Let's see if Washington State tries to exploit something that way. Huskies show blitz. Here they come. The handoff goes to Wright Fair. We've got a flag on the play as Wright Fair is brought down at about the 33. Shane Pawakoa in on the stop, along with Lewis Jones for the Huskies. And the flag goes against Washington State.
Got to be a hold. Tough not to hold when your feet are going out from underneath you, that you're sliding around there, and you got a guy like Hoffman threatening to stick it in the backfield. And that's the call, so it'll bring up 2nd and 20 for Washington State, depending upon where the spot of that foul was. Little blustery up there in that end zone here down the Husky end.
You see a lot of clustering going on up there.
A lot of new best friends.
Yeah. 2nd and 20 for Washington State. 5 minutes ago, first quarter. Apple Cup 92, Washington State on top 6-0. Wright Fair on the delayed handoff gets about 2. The Huskies stayed home there.
Well, interesting formation. 3 wides to the top and split the tight end out. I mean, that's not exactly your the type of offense that you'd be thinking. You're thinking a couple of yards or a couple tight ends and a couple of yards is good offense.
And that is why Jamal Fontaine was unblocked on the play. Coming down the line of scrimmage to make the play. 3rd and 18.
Washington State with 3 wide receivers. Looked like there might have been some movement on the line before the snap. No flag. Andy Mason sacks Drew Bledsoe back at about the 7-yard line.
The 8th quarterback sack of the year for Andy Mason. Huskies once again like to bring a lot of people. Andy Mason very quick. This time you see he comes down inside Clarence Williams. Bledsoe holding the ball a little bit longer than he has time for. Andy Mason from Longview knows well this rivalry.
They're going to give Washington State a pretty advantageous spot on that sack out near the 10-yard line. And Johnston will have to punt it away from his end zone. 65-yarder last time. Kaufman and Walter Bailey are set up at midfield. Snap is good. Johnston has plenty of time. That driving low kick again. And Bailey will step up and field it as a hole and gets hit and brought down at the 40. The Huskies will have outstanding field position.
This is what the Huskies had in mind when they chose to kick off and take the win to start this game. They just did not want 11 minutes and 9 seconds off the clock for this advantage to take hold.
And down by 6.
See, everybody's trying to wear everything they can to stay warm today. Mark Brunell with the little belt muffler in front there to keep those hands warm. Southern California bred players are a little bit out of their element.
Darius Turner in at fullback now. Napoleon Kaufman nowhere. Washington State's run defense does the job that time. Brian Ford in on the stop, along with one of the few seniors on that Cougar defensive unit, Kurt Lurcher, the senior out of Montesano.
Huskies try to run their version of the counter gap. Andy Peterson and Lincoln Kennedy not able to get all the way over into the hole. Ford is able to close that gap, and at 295, when he closes that gap on 170, with nobody's feet able to grab hold, it's you're down in a hurry.
2nd and 10 for Brunell and the Huskies. Play action buys him some time. The pass intended for Darius Turner, and he couldn't make the catch. Ball thrown a bit behind him, and he was able to get one hand on it, and that's all.
Washington State doing a pretty good job of getting pressure on Brunell here. They're faking the counter tray and moving around the outside.
Because they are getting that pressure, though, how about a quarterback draw? It looks like that would be very effective.
If you can stop and plant your feet and do the draw part, it'd be great. It's real difficult here to come up with a few plays that are going to work for you. And I think that Washington State has found a couple that work, at least on the running ground game. But so far, the Huskies haven't found that one play that's going to be successful for them in this bad weather.
3rd and 10, Huskies trying to take advantage of the good field position. Brunell eludes one guy, has the pass complete to Berry, and he gets down to the 26-yard line. That's a first down. Heads-up play by Damon Berry that time. He rescued Mark Brunell.
Well, also you see what Mark Brunell can do. First, he eludes the pressure, and then puts the pressure on those defensive backs. They don't know whether to close on Mark Brunell and stop the run or to lay back and play the pass.
You see Ray Hall getting good penetration coming up, and he goes for the ball fake. Nice job by Brunell, and then he stops and dumps it over the top to Damon Berry, who does a great job just finding a little spot, gets the first down. So heads up play by Brunell and Berry there.
First down at the 26. This is Turner, and he keeps his legs churning and picks up an extra yard or so. Singor Mobley, one of the crimson-shirted Cougars, in on the stop.
We may see Darius Turner at fullback quite a bit today just because of his weight advantage. Matt Jones, only 215 pounds. Darius Turner, 235. When there's no moves or footing as factors in this game, you just want to get as much bulk as you can going in the right direction.
Want to take the big 4x4 out, not just the Toyota truck.
That's right.
2:10 left to play in the first quarter. Huskies trying to even things up. Washington State out front 6-0. Hoffman able to get outside and run out of bounds by Singor Mobley. Normal situation, you might see a flag for a late hit there, but in that situation with the snow and the ice on the field, they're just hanging on to each other and taking a slide together.
Well, players can't see where the boundary is, plus the fact that they can't stop.
Torrey Hunter had a shot there to stop things for little or no gain and missed a tackle, and that's kind of unusual. Torrey missed a couple tackles against Stanford. Got to wrap him up.
Ball spotted at the 19. It'll be 3rd down and 3 for the Huskies. They converted a 3rd and 10 a moment ago. Delayed handoff to Kaufman, and he gets the first down. He was hit shy of the marker by John Rushing, but Kaufman able to keep his momentum going forward and picked up the first down.
Well, there's the draw you were looking for, except for it was Napoleon Kaufman instead of Mark Brunell. Cougars with a lot of people on the line of scrimmage. Napoleon Kaufman looking for a breather there.
Watch McClanahan here as he knows what this play is. He steps up and just can't quite get a lick on Napoleon, who does a good job getting the first down. Good play call there by the Huskies.
Ron Childs there also misjudges his angle of pursuit.
7th play of the drive. This is Jay Berry in the backfield, and he gets just a couple of yards.
If I'm the Huskies, I think I might try to speed this thing up as far as taking advantage of this weather with only a minute 25, 27 left here. You know, you don't want to let this clock roll and then maybe if you can't get in here, not have a shot at with the wind behind you.
The wind, though, almost appears to be swirling more than it blowing in one particular direction. You can see on the goalpost it is definitely at the Husky back right now, but if you watch the snowflakes, they're kind of tumbling around a bit. 2nd and 8 from the 13. Cougars show blitz. Let's see if they come. Little shovel pass to Turner, and the momentum carries him down, but we've got a flag at the 10. Turner is down about a yard or two shy of the first down marker, and it's holding against Washington.
Flag thrown by the umpire right in the face of center Jim Neville. Miles Corrigan and Don James.
Almost the same situation where Hoffman was showing stunt against the Cougars when they held their McClanahan up in the gap, and someone got called for latching on.
That handoff occurred so late, I thought it was actually a shovel pass at first, but it was a handoff.
Get a look at Lincoln Kennedy, the lone senior, lone returning starter on this Husky offensive line, one of the 4 finalists for the Lombardi Award for the best lineman in the country, predicted by many to be one of the top 3 or 4 players picked in the NFL draft this spring, if there is indeed an NFL draft.
He's bigger than 3 or 4 players.
As we take a look at Mark Brunell and they spot the football, let's quickly go down to the sidelines to Rich Waltz.
Thinking about a field goal right now. Both teams have dry footballs. 3 footballs per quarter per team. 24 footballs will be used in this game. This one's already out of the game.
And Brunell has this one, tries to keep it dry, and he gets brought down shy of the first down marker. He is at about the 8-yard line. Needed to get just inside the 6 for the first down.
Huskies like to run the option with Mark Brunell. He is a true threat.
There they ran the counter option, trying to get a little step going one way and just get the momentum of the middle linebackers to flow one way. As you see the clock running down here, and it doesn't look like the Huskies are going to.
Tell you, one player that hopes that the Huskies score before the end of this quarter is Travis Hansen.
Brunell will get the play off. Kaufman through the middle. That should be plenty for the first down. And that will be the end of the first quarter. And they will march down to the other end of the field, and it'll be a task for the officials to make sure they get a good spot on this football. We have played quarter number 1. The Cougars lead the Huskies 6-0. You're watching the Apple Cup on Prime Sports Northwest. And you are watching Apple Cup 92 from snowy, blustery Martin Stadium in Pullman, Washington. And the Cougars lead the Huskies 6-0 at the end of 1 quarter of football. The Huskies with a chance to get things going. Mark Brunell not looking real happy with the delay between quarters here. It is first and goal for the Huskies from the 5-yard line. 11th play of the drive is coming up. We were discussing between quarters the Apple Cup weather. 1988, the last time Washington State won in this football game. It was snowing here in Pullman, but it was a snow that was a real dry snow, and it really wasn't windy. It didn't seem nearly as cold. 1982 was probably a little colder than this, but the combination here making this the worst playing conditions we've had in a while. Napoleon Kaufman tries the left side and breaks off where he had initially been stopped and might have got about a yard is all.
Looked like he was going to almost be able to break that play all the way outside into the clear. Chad Eaton or someone had enough of a jersey to keep Napoleon Kaufman in the pile. Still able to pick up about a yard and a half.
I think the Huskies have found their one play that's going to be successful for them, and that's the ISO or counter, just going straight ahead. They're either going to run behind Turner, or they're going to come off to the side with the counter, trying to influence the linebackers with the fullback.
Turner, the fullback, and he gets the ball. Left side has a hole and gets down to about the 1. Oh, you said ISO. I thought you said go over the ice hole. But they're all that.
Another flag down here. I think we got another late personal foul. I think this might be thrown on the Cougars' Kurt Lurcher. That he was flinging around one of the wide receivers there late, and the official didn't like that, and so it wasn't real flagrant, but judgment call.
So what you're trying to say, Cleet, is it's the Apple Cup. They should let those things go?
Absolutely. There's no blood on the snow. Come on.
You know, those big guys, once they get a shot at those little guys, they're going to take it. You see Coach Mike Price. One thing is, it's extremely difficult to even look into the wind with the snow blowing that hard. You see the wind getting that snow up under the hood and Bill up into the glasses of Mike Price. As a player, you're looking at the one end of the field where the wind is coming. That's the directions that the Huskies are facing right now. It's hard to look back.
It's not a big penalty in terms of yardage, but it's big in terms of a first down. First and goal for the Huskies for the 1. Turner again, and he's turned back. Washington State with the defensive surge up the middle. Let's see where they spot the ball. They'll give him progress at the 1.
It's big people on big people. Washington State tight formation on defense as well as offense. They're just going to say, if you're not trying to fool us, we're not going to try to fool you. Anthony McClanahan, Brian Ford, Ray Hall, and the big man up front. See, Anthony McClanahan jumps in the right spot, but that penetration underneath by Ray Hall is what stops Darius Turner.
If I get to make the play call here, I say let's go outside. We'll see what the Huskies do on 2nd and goal for the 1. They try it outside with Brunell. McClanahan couldn't get him from behind. Touchdown, Washington. We are tied at 6. Mark Brunell.
Take no chances with the pitch. You've got a quarterback that has running back ability. Gives you one extra lead blocker in Napoleon Kaufman as well.
It's a good call because not only do you have a good runner at a quarterback, but you don't have any exchanges that you have to make. No additional handoffs, and here you see McClanahan just missing him and trying to get a hand on him and can't make the play, and Brunell scoots inside the pylon.
Take a look at Napoleon Kaufman right here. Getting that last man out of the way without carrying the ball, he becomes an extra lead blocker.
Travis Hansen tries the extra point and he gets it. So Travis Hansen able to succeed on the extra point when Aaron Price couldn't. That's the difference in the football game. Huskies 7, Cougars 6, 13:22 left to play in the first half. You're watching Apple Cup 92 on Prime Sports Northwest. Washington has just scored to take a 7-6 lead over the Washington State Cougars. An interesting drive put together by the Huskies. 14 plays, 40 yards.
But when you're only getting 3 and 4 yards at a crack, every first down is a third down conversion. So you're only eating them up 4 yards at a time.
Travis Hansen set to boot it away. Let's sneak back down to the sidelines and talk to Rich Waltz.
But after that big stop by Anthony McClanahan, Lincoln Kennedy turned to the Husky sideline and yelled, "Run it behind me." I don't know if the Husky coaches heard him, but where did that touchdown go? Around Lincoln Kennedy's end. Back upstairs where it's a lot warmer.
That's where you're wrong.
Well, they had to run wide. If you're going to run around Lincoln Kennedy's end, it's going to be wide.
Hansen's kick, a driving kick. It will hit and skip and be picked up at the 5 by Darren Pointer. And Pointer runs into some Cougars and Huskies at about the 22, and that's where he'll go down. And you'll notice it is becoming increasingly difficult to say what yard line he went down on. Drew Bledsoe sheds the coat. Didn't even get a tab from the coat rack on that one.
Well, they're going to make sure he gets his coat when he comes back. He's not going to need a tab in order to get his coat back. There's one guy on that sideline that's going to get a coat. It's going to be number 11.
The Cougars hoping that he will have a coat that he will be wearing next year here at Washington State as well. 1st and 10 Cougars, and they will be operating with the wind at their back for the first time. Big switch on as Butch Williams goes from the right side of the formation to the left. Wright Fair has been able to run the ball well so far. Bledsoe to throw it on first down. C.J. Davis out of Curtis High School in Tacoma, the senior playing in his final home game in Martin Stadium. And the Cougars scurry back into the huddle after the first down completion.
Bledsoe checked off there, saw something that he liked as far as the way that the Huskies were leaving that slant open. There you see the Husky scoring drive. Took up a lot of time, the remaining time of that first quarter, and were able to punch it through with Brunell's run.
Call the line of scrimmage to the 37 as the Cougars shift again, this time in the opposite position. Spreading the formation wide, and Wright Fair on that little counter. And he is brought down near the 40-yard line. Jaime Fields sneaking in along with Dave Hoffman, the finalist, one of 3 finalists for the Butkus Award that'll be announced on December 12th. Drew Bledsoe, by the way, also a finalist for the O'Brien Award, honoring the top quarterback in the nation.
Jamal Fontaine did a good job finally of coming down the line and meeting that pulling guard on counter tray, so the Huskies have made an adjustment to a play that was working quite well for WSU.
Bledsoe surveys the Husky defense, and he'll try to give it to Wright Fair, who's not going to go anywhere. Andy Mason had some help from James Clifford in the backfield. Dave Hoffman gets in there as well.
As you said, Clayton, those outside rush people for Washington closing down, not allowing those pulling guards, pulling tackles from the offside to come over and kick them out. So Jaime Fields or Jamal Fontaine on this side. This time Andy Mason closes down the play. Conrad Pimiskern unable to get the angle on Andy Mason. Dave Hoffman scraping to the outside to help.
3rd down and 11 for Washington State. Wright Fair, the lone man in the backfield, he'll stay in the block. Bledsoe has time and guns it, and everybody's slipping. The fans want interference, but Philip Bobo lost his footing.
Interception opportunity for Lewis Jones. His 2nd start of the year, replacing Tommy Smith, who missed 1 class this week, but in Tommy Smith's case, that's enough for a suspension for 1 game.
You see Bledsoe going back, and he's just going to look at one guy for too long. He's going to hang with Phillip and then try to gun the ball in there, and people falling down and bounce off the chest of Lewis Jones. That's just the effect of the cold weather again, that you can't catch it with your hands. You got to kind of cradle it in there, and couldn't do it.
Walter Bailey coming up now as the Huskies look like they might try to come after Steve Johnston. Napoleon Kaufman, the lone back man. They don't come after him. The kick is away. It's a good driving kick, and Kaufman's going to have to let it go over his head, and will it go into the end zone? It will. Skip all the way in. That will be a 54-yard kick by Steve Johnston, and the Huskies will have the football on their own 20. 11-16 left to play in the first half. The Dogs lead it by 1. You're watching Apple Cup 92 on Prime Sports Northwest. Some rabid Apple Cup fans in the stands trying to stay warm as they see the Huskies with a 7-6 lead. Bud Namick along with Cleet Casper, Chuck Nelson, and Rich Waltz in Martin Stadium. Mark Brunell trying to keep his hands warm. It's interesting, you look down at one end zone where the Cougar cheerleaders are, as you see the numbers on Mark Brunell. They've taken their feet and their megaphones and spelled out WSU in the snow, while the Husky cheerleaders have a guy shoveling the snow away so they can have some footing to do their stunts.
Obviously, a big impact of the snow is the effect on the Husky stunts. That's very key.
It has been key so far. The Husky band has been kind of quiet. They got the rain slickers on, but they're bundled up. Here we go. Brunell with the ball at the 20-yard line on 1st and 10. Berry and Turner in the backfield. Turner, about a 6-yard first down gain. Chad Eaton out of Rogers High School in Puyallup bringing him down from behind.
Just a comparison of the running backs here with Kaufman 8 carries for 30 yards and Chambay has 10 for 46. So the tailbacks getting most of the yardage that's being able to be created out here. There, Darius Turner, a little cross up. That's the big change in strategy now for the Huskies, is to give it to the fullback.
There is Darius Turner with Jay Berry set up behind him in the eye. There's the pitch back to Berry. He's got some blockers out in front, and Washington State does a nice job of stringing that play out until they had good enough pursuit to run Berry out of bounds.
The toss sweep just isn't going to be effective because all you're going to do is go down, try to make a plant and hit that hole, the seam that sometimes is created, but it's just going to be too slow developing because you can't take people down here. It's just not going to happen.
It's kind of a play that you have to call every now and again, at least to get outside. As you can see, it's just kind of hard to create any sort of advantage. There is no way to set up proper angles because everybody's out in the open field.
The one thing it might do is create the play action that the Huskies like to fake the toss sweep and then roll Brunell out.
3rd and a long 4. Brunell will try to run for it now, dumps it off, and it is caught, but dropped. Greg Burns drops the receiver, Eric Bjornsson, the converted quarterback, but it's good enough for the first down.
That play stopped originally. A very good job by the linebackers and defensive backs of Washington State. Eric Bjornsson, the intended receiver all along. Mark Brunell broke contain and was able to buy enough extra time for Eric Bjornsson to find some space. Eric Bjornsson at 6'5", the kind of receiver you like to have on a 3rd down situation, because when you get in trouble, you always have some place to throw it in the air, and your guy's going to be taller than their guy.
One of the things we talked about earlier was containing Brunell, and Washington State has not been able to do that on the last couple of series. Darius Turner gets out near the 40-yard line. Gain of about 7 yards on the play.
Darius Turner got some little frostbite up there on the face mask, clearing up some traction for Lincoln Kennedy and those guys up front. Don James, a Midwesterner, probably played or coached in some of these games back in Ohio when he was in his playing and coaching youth.
Do you think he even notices that it's snowing?
Probably not, other than what the equipment guys come up and give him before the game to wear. Other than that, he will make the adjustments, obviously, in terms of game plan, but in terms of how, once the game starts, he's not even thinking about it.
Well, Washington State's been hit with an offside. So the Huskies accepting that instead of taking the 6-yard gain, so it'll be 1st and 5 for Washington.
You give up a yard, but you gain a down.
And time.
Turner again. And the Huskies doing now what we have seen teams do the last couple of weeks against Washington State. Just give it to the big fella and send him up the middle. And that is enough for a first down for Washington.
Darius Turner not wearing any long sleeves underneath there.
He's got tape over the ear hole, though. He doesn't want any of that wind in there.
He's macho, except for when it comes to his ears. You can see they just try to create a seam right there and steal off the inside people with the center and the onside guard. Darius Turner are able to get enough momentum going forward that it takes 4 Cougars to slow that momentum.
Turner and Jay Berry behind Brunell, who appears to be calling a little audible at the line of scrimmage. They'll give it to Berry, left side. And that's John Rushing coming up to make the hit. Gain of 2, maybe 3 on the play. And Torrey Hunter having a chat with one of the officials. He doesn't like the way he's being blocked by Jason Shelley.
Well, Torrey Hunter, at least my impression is, he doesn't mind having a conversation with virtually anyone. John Rushing and those Cougar DBs turning into linebackers today. We haven't seen the ball in the air very much. We will see big plays, though. What will happen today is you'll see run, throw it deep.
2nd and 8. Berry again tries the middle, and there's nothing there. The Cougar defense makes the stop. Lewis Bush in there along with Vince Saldivar. And once again, Chad Eaton coming up out of the bottom of the pile. Chris Frank in there right now as well.
Huskies trying to get the ball to the tailback to hopefully spring something, and they haven't been able to get that good first down play with what they'd had done with Darius Turner. Now they're looking at third down here.
Why'd they go away from Turner? Who was successful.
I think they're just trying to be creative. The offensive coordinator just got to do something to justify his salary, I guess.
3rd and a long 7 for the Huskies, just shy of the midfield stripe. Play action, Brunell trying to buy time. He's going to throw it deep, and he's got Joe Kralik, who can't stay on his feet. There's about a ½ inch of snow along the sideline, and Joe Kralik tried to make an adjustment to the ball and couldn't do it. And it's not his fault.
Joe Kralik does a great job of getting behind Greg Burns when Mark Brunell rolled to this side, but the ball not thrown right on the boundary where Joe Kralik is, and you can see his futile attempt to get back inside.
Again, one of the things we talked about is Brunell is much better throwing the ball when he's rolling to his left as opposed to the right, and especially in these conditions where you almost have to plant yourself and throw, and he left that ball down the hash mark, and Kralik was on the sideline, so the Huskies have to punt. Cougar defense holds.
John Wardell to punt it away again from about the 48-yard line. Torrey Hunter is deep. He's at his 10, but he might not be able to tell exactly where he is, and that one goes off the side of Wardell's foot. First time we've seen a punt adversely affected by the weather today. And the Cougars are going to have good field position. They are spotting that ball at about the 43-yard line.
Well, the wind has had a big effect on both of those last 2 plays. Mark Brunell's attempt to throw deep into a very strong wind. John Wardell's attempt to punt it deep into that same wind. 10-yard punt, not what you're after. Again, field position so important. Wardell averaging 38.5 yards coming into today's game, has done a very good job in addition to that of putting the ball out inside the 15-yard line.
Here you see the guys scraping off their cleats. Next Tuesday.
Go ahead.
College football action as the USC Trojans take on the UCLA Bruins Tuesday, November 24th at 8:30 p.m. on Prime Sports Northwest.
See, now you hesitated, Clete.
I lost it.
And Chuck took advantage. He jumped right in there. That's what I've been trying to get you to do all year long.
You gotta want
it. You gotta be aggressive. It's the Apple Cup. Come on now.
We should have brought our harmonica, and I could have played the initial note, and we could have all sung it together in
I'm telling you.
3-part harmony.
Well, it's tough to get much real estate through the air in a situation like this, as Joe Kralik will tell you right about now.
I'll tell you what a great play is. It's not something that you'd think about, but the reverse pass, because you've got a guy that really doesn't need to throw the ball from a standing position. He can go ahead and throw it on the run, and a route that just takes you straight down the field. And it was something that Mike Price was talking about also with Mike Levenseller before the game is, hey, you know, it might seem crazy, but the reverse pass is a pretty good play in this type of situation.
Well, I'm a little surprised we haven't even seen, say, that little reverse that Washington State likes to run to Philip Bobo, because again, I think because of that same pursuit, both of these defenses really susceptible to that as the snow continues to come down. Yeah, we're getting a taste of Washington today. Apple Cup 92. The Cougars have the football on their own 36, they're marking it now.
A taste of Eastern Washington, at least.
It gets a little blustery on the west side every once in a while. Bledsoe over the middle, and C.J. Davis couldn't get it. Had to go down after it and couldn't do it.
Talk about misdirection and how effective it could be, because it's so difficult to change direction. Once you get a player's momentum going one way or the other, it's hard to let him make him go the other way when he has to make that adjustment quickly.
7:54 left to play in the first half. Huskies lead it 7-6. Washington State scored first, couldn't get the extra point. Huskies managed to tack on the extra point. That's the difference right now. Drew Bledsoe wants to gun it outside, and let's see if it's called a catch or not. Looks like it is. I believe it's the tight end. Nope, C.J. Davis actually was on the ground and made the catch.
Washington State came out in 4 wide receivers, just spread it all over, and they're trying to get to the little hitch route. You see that Andy Mason's having a trouble getting his footing underneath him. He's also got the disadvantage of that extra slit in his pants that goes halfway up his leg, and he has even less material covering him up today.
Third down and a long 4 for Washington State. Nobody in the backfield. Right Fair is going in motion. Trips to the lower part of your screen. Bledsoe has time, and the tight end, Brett Carroll, first down and more. He is down to the 42-yard line of Washington.
So that trips formation, and then just have your tight end run across the field. Lewis Jones ultimately makes the tackle, but Brett Carolyn in a virtual foot race across the field with Dave Hoffman. Carolyn knows where he's trying to go. Hoffman's just trying to catch up. You can see a couple steps right there. Lewis Jones comes off of his man to make the play, but not before the Cougars are into Husky territory.
Catch number 31 on the year for Brett Carolyn. Draw to Right Fair. And he gets about 8 yards. Jamal Fontaine, Shane Kawakoa, James Clifford all in on the stop. Looked like that play was stopped, and Right Fair was able to keep it going, and he has to leave. He doesn't look like he's hurt. Might be an equipment adjustment as Derek Sparks comes in.
He just wants to go stand next to the heater for a little while after sliding forward on the hands and knees. Washington State now operating a little bit better on offense. Got some field position, and be important for them to get a score here. Take advantage of the win.
Let's call it second and a long 3 at about the 35. Bledsoe, short drop over the middle, caught by Philip Bobo. 28th consecutive game that Philip Bobo has had at least 1 reception. First down, Washington State.
Huskies blitz the inside linebackers. Both Hoffman and Clifford come, and Philip Bobo just cuts his route to the inside to the vacated area. Nice read by Bobo and Bledsoe. See, once again, the play quick enough that the ball is gone before Dave Hoffman is able to snow plow into the feet of Drew Bledsoe.
First catch of the game for Philip Bobo, who had 9 receptions for 151 yards in Husky Stadium last year. Into the end zone for Schexnayder, in and out of his hands at the 2. Ball was thrown perfectly, but there was good coverage on the play, and Schexnayder couldn't make the catch.
You talk about missed opportunities. Calvin Schexnayder will feel like he missed one there. A good job by Drew Bledsoe of looking off any potential safety help. One-on-one with Schexnayder and Walter Bailey. The step is there, the ball is there, the catch is not. Walter Bailey reaches in with that right arm, gets enough of a piece.
Second and 10 for Washington State now. Ball on the 28 of the Huskies. 5.5 minutes to play, second quarter. Washington leads it by 1.
He's got a chance for Carolyn if he shifts the ball.
Hand it off to Sparks, and on second down, he will get maybe 3 yards on that play.
The thing that I saw on that particular alignment where you go trips to the wide side of the field is Brett Carolyn man-on-man against Shane Palcoa. There you see Shane, and again, normally you'd think that Shane might have an advantage there from a coverage standpoint, but in this type of field, the big guy can go down and bump him off and get those feet sliding behind, and that's basically one of the moves as we see our buddy in the stands keeping warm.
Third down and 7. Bledsoe pressured, gets it off, and it is caught by C.J. Davis. Makes the catch at about the 8-yard line. C.J. Davis is having a big senior season and a big senior Apple Cup so far.
Big time play by Bledsoe there as Andy Mason in a mix-up in the blocking assignments came untouched. But again, this field doesn't allow him to get there normally as quickly as he would. Watch, he's going to come, and I think it's Derek Sparks goes the wrong way to block somebody, but Bledsoe is able to find a hole and just pumps it in there to CJ. So Cougars threatening again down somewhere near the end zone.
Call it the 8-yard line. 9th play of the drive coming up. Washington State trying to regain the lead. Wright Fair back in the backfield. He gets the football left side down to about the 3. Football came loose. They'll say it's down. Snow cannot cause a fumble when it's on the AstroTurf.
Now Sean Bay takes his turn at having the face mask work as the snow plow. He's got Tribble there to knock it away for him, but a real good first down play there. Cougars haven't been too effective on normal days being able to punch these red zone plays into the end zone. So now they're down, it looks like about on the 1 or 2 yard line.
You can see the pile just moves downfield. Chambay Wright Fair finds the hole. Gets that snow cone inside the 5.
Sparks in the backfield along with Wright Fair. Bledsoe sneak, and he got close but was turned away. Huskies are saying the ball's loose and that they have it, and the officials are checking it out. They have not called it down yet.
Walter Bailey adamant about it.
Lewis Jones gets pulled off the pile by one of the big Cougar offensive linemen.
The officials have not made a signal one way or the other. Must apparently second down indeed. Third down, excuse me.
Don James watching on from the sideline to see what Washington State will do. See if they go with the sneak again.
Officials stopping the clock to sort out exactly what happened. Here's what happened on the play, and you've got a big quarterback like Drew Bledsoe, and you have the advantage of knowing when the snap count is. You should be able to pick up a couple of yards on a play like that.
Interesting play call series here now as we set up third down and short. Do you think of this as 2-down territory and that you're going to go for the touchdown if you do get held out, or do
I
you
agree
kick
with
the
Chuck.
field goal?
It's 2 quarterback sneaks with Bledsoe's size and the fact that he's got the momentum off the snap on his side.
Well, we should see if they're thinking field goal. If they run the ball to the right-hand side, to the middle of the field, they may be thinking one play and then field goal.
Sparks, and he didn't get in. There was confusion on that handoff. It was not crisp.
I don't think that handoff's supposed to go to Sparks. That's the handoff. Sparks is supposed to be the lead back, and you're supposed to give that ball to Sean Bay.
And they're sending Aaron Price in. And the fans don't care for the call.
Yeah, you can see it looks like a little bit of confusion.
They are actually about at the 3-yard line, though. It's so difficult to tell exactly where the ball is, but it's not your average 1-yard little sneak.
Well, if I'm the Cougars, I go ahead and call a timeout here, and let's make sure that we're all set. We've got a nice place to put the ball, that we've got an area cleared away, and also give Aaron some time to warm up, because he's been standing over there on the sideline with a 1 cold foot.
Boone Borden, the holder. Quinn Magnuson to snap it, and they have problems with the spot. He's down. Husky defense is held. Boone Borden actually should have been down. He was on a knee when he picked up the football, but he is stopped, and the ball is at about the 4-yard line. So Washington State has misfired twice now on the kicking game.
Once again, you talk about, there he's down right there. Talk about missed opportunities. First, Sexsnyder unable to hang on to the potential touchdown pass. The snap is certainly where it needs to be. You talked about Aaron Price having been on the sidelines cold. Boone Borden has also been on the sidelines cold. Just highlights the fact it's a 3-man operation when you're kicking field goals.
Well, here the thought now is keep them down, take timeouts on defense, and hopefully you can get 3 downs and out and get another chance. Call
About a
timeout
yard
now.
on that play, and let's see if Washington State will stop the clock. 2 minutes.
Call timeout.
Matt Jones in at the fullback spot for the Huskies.
Cougars letting the clock run. Huskies would be very happy to just pick up 1 first down and get in at halftime.
There you see the time moving.
Other than having 1:40 to go in the half, weather like this, field position like this, you might think play action if you're the Huskies, but the one thing they don't want to do is stop the clock in this situation. Let's grind it out.
I don't understand why Washington State isn't thinking timeout there after each play. Maybe they'll get one here.
Huskies using all the clock. The play clock was down to 2. Napoleon Kaufman stopped at the 6. Now the Cougars should call timeout, and they quickly try to do so. Torrey Hunter gets the signal in. 1:14 left to play in the half. The Cougars have 2 timeouts left. They trail by 1. They're trying to get the ball back. We'll take timeout with the Huskies on top 7-6. You're watching the Apple Cup on Prime Sports Northwest. Huskies have a 1-point lead. Cougars trying to see if they can get a chance to get the ball back. It is 3rd down and 9. The Huskies are at their own 5-yard line. As you can see how nice it is in Pullman today for football.
This morning on the radio, they were talking mid-40s, chance of flurries, maybe a little light rain. It was going to be windy. It has not stopped snowing since 7 o'clock this morning.
Mark Brunell facing a 3rd down and 9. Wouldn't be surprised to see him just take it himself. He will hand it off to Napoleon Kaufman, who busts up the middle and gets the 1st down. So that makes Washington State trying to stop the clock a moot point. And the Husky faithful like that.
Huskies have done a very good job on 3rd down today. Napoleon Kaufman with the big play there.
Nothing fancy. Again, this is just the ice of the left side. You can see Ray Hall getting taken out. Anthony McClanahan got moved inside, and Childs didn't really stay home too well there. You'll see him widening. Ron Childs, number 31, gets way too far outside and can't come in to make that play. So good job by Darius Turner making the block inside there and creating a lane for Napoleon to get up and get a 1st down. Big player on the Husky side.
Also a very good job by Andy Peterson and Jim Novell getting that initial seam.
Nothing there for Darius Turner.
Huskies don't care. All they're thinking is don't turn it over right here. As Washington State takes their 2nd timeout. 37 seconds to go. Only 1 timeout remaining for Washington State. Husky fans, if you're going to the Rose Bowl, get the best trip with the University of Washington Alumni Association and Planners Unlimited. Call the University of Washington Alumni Association at 543-0540. You'll stay at the Anaheim Hilton next door to the New Year's Eve Husky celebration, including as a game breakfast and round-trip transfer to the game. For championship Rose Bowl travel, call the UW Alumni Association, 543-0540.
Chuck, could you repeat that phone number one more time for Cleat? Let's head down to the sidelines and talk to Rich Waltz.
Bud, they're lining up for lift tickets down here. I mean, it is cold and it is wet and it's snowy. And there's no real surprise that Mike Price went for the field goal. Remember, this is brand new AstroTurf, and maybe Chuck Nelson could shed some light on this. Because once you get down to the green stuff, the footing is very, very good. And both kickers on their plant feet have grass cleats on to help. So the kickers are getting good footing. Obviously, that time, Price never got to kick the football. Back up to you guys.
You could work the lift line, Rich.
The problem, you may have good footing once you get there, but you've got to get to the ball. Those first 2 initial steps, those initial drive steps, don't allow you to establish your normal rhythm and your normal momentum. As you say, once the holder's got to get it down in order for you to even get a chance at it.
Perhaps the final play of the first half coming up here. 2nd and 9 for the Huskies. And they will just simply hand it off in the backfield as Jay Barry is run down back at about the 14-yard line, and the Cougars are going to use their final timeout.
Huskies will be forced to snap it at least one more time. One more play, and the 25-second clock should take care of the half, as the Cougars do not have any remaining timeouts. Mike Price going to make those Huskies handle the ball as many times as possible. You see the flakes are getting bigger.
I'm trying to think of the strategy here. Are we just trying to freeze them out?
That's right.
Maybe they won't come back out for the second half.
Well, we've seen the Huskies fumble one snap from center today. Take any chances you can get.
Here you see the snap again, and in fact was behind Boone a little bit, and he took his eye off it, trying to get it down quickly. And actually, when he did pick it up, he could have squirted through there, but just kind of the mayhem that's going on, nobody really knew what he was trying to accomplish. Usually, you call the fire and try to get outside and make something happen. And he just said, heck with it, I'm getting out of here. I'm getting down on my knee as fast as I can.
Gonna run into that pile of warm bodies. You can't fool him. He's not rolling out there where there isn't anybody.
Mike Price thinking about opportunities that could have been in that first half, and chatting with Mike Levenseller as Washington State will have to go on defense again as the second half starts. And one thing that'll be interesting, it'll be fun to see how many of these fans decide to come back after venturing out at halftime. This is Barry again, and he just hangs on to the football, and that should be the final play of the first half, with the difference being a missed extra point. Travis Hansen able to convert the Husky touchdown. Aaron Price hit the left upright, and the ball skittered off to the left. 7-6, the Huskies have the lead. As Mike Price and his guys leave, and the Dogs follow Don James off the field, they'll hustle in and make some halftime adjustments, and we'll have a look at some of the highlights and statistics from the first half. Give you a chance to warm up as well. The Huskies lead the Cougars 7-6 at halftime. You're watching the Apple Cup on Prime Sports Northwest. Welcome back to Martin Stadium. The Huskies leading the Cougars by a point at halftime. Washington State set to kick the football off to the Washington Huskies. If you've been with us throughout the year watching Cougar football on Prime Sports Northwest, you know TCI and Cablevision have had a neat little thing going where if you sign up for any of the cable opportunities, some money goes to Washington State University. Check presentation just made by Prime Sports Northwest and TCI Cablevision, $13,140. Doug Woolard, Associate Athletic Director at Washington State, accepting that check last week in Husky Stadium, a check presented during the final Husky home game of the year. Washington State will boot it away, and the Cougars will have the wind at their backs for the third quarter and then operate into that wind in the fourth quarter. Creative use of a cheerleading megaphone.
That's where they're at this higher education facility, trying to learn how to use tools in new and exciting ways.
We don't want any injuries on the sidelines either.
No, that'd be bad.
Well, the snowplows have just about completed their chores. We can again see the stripes on the field, but that'll be short-lived.
It was a great halftime show. We had a couple of snowplows came out and plowed in formation, spelled out Cougars.
Curtis Geathers will hold the football for Aaron Price to kick it away. Napoleon Kaufman and Jay Barry are deep for the Huskies. And here we go with the second half of Apple Cup 92. It will be Jay Barry at about the 12-yard line. And he's got some blockers in front of him and a violent collision at the 25. And the Huskies will have the football at about the 28, maybe the 29-yard line to get things started. As you take a look again at some of the halftime statistics. Again, ABC here to televise this game as well. So you will see some things that perhaps we have already shown you.
Key statistic, obviously, the missed extra point by Aaron Price. Whenever you miss an extra point, you just hope like mad that it's not going to come back to haunt you. Aaron Price would like to see some more points on the board for Washington State, certainly.
Would have liked to have had a chance to kick that field goal that Boone Borden was unable to set down for him. Brunell, a little naked bootleg on first down, and he's got some running room, and Darius Turner to block for him, and a crushing blow thrown by the tight end, Mark Bruner. He flat out hammered Ron Childs at the 40.
Well, there's the fake of that toss sweep that we talked a little bit about, where Brunell's able to make something happen, and a great block, blindsider, and you can see Bruner's pretty fired up about that.
Talk about making something happen. We talked about how successful misdirection could be. Look at all these Cougars are going to be chasing everything to their right, while Mark Brunell is going to fake the pitch and bring it back this way. Lewis Bush and others cannot make the switch. Darius Turner, a receiver to this point. Here's the block. Now Mark Bruner, if we do not continue it, sends Ron Childs a message.
Napoleon Kaufman, nothing on that first down carry. How did you draw like that with your hands in your pockets? I was impressed.
It's these laser beam eyes.
Ron Childs gets back into the action, though, picks himself up off the turf and makes a tackle there.
He's still checking out that elbow. It hit the ground pretty hard, as did just about every other part of his anatomy when Mark Bruner hit 235 pounds.
Okay, enough of that one, all right?
It was fun. It was fun to watch. You got to appreciate it, Cleet, even if
I don't have to appreciate nothing.
Crimson guy.
This is the second half. Let's go, Cougs.
Second down and 10, the option, and Brunell's going to have to keep it. And he takes on Torrey Hunter. And it looked like Brunell might have won the battle on that one, and he falls forward for a gain of close to 7 yards on the play.
But with the weather like this, if Mark Brunell has a choice to pitch or keep, he's certainly going to keep it. See, Anthony McClanahan inside cannot get out in order to put some pressure on Mark Brunell. He comes in late on the play, but if you can isolate people in that option and get a numbers game, keep those inside pursuit people off of the corners, like Anthony McClanahan was kept inside there, you get opportunities to pick up 5 and 6 yards.
Well, another big third down opportunity for the Huskies, who have converted a couple of big ones. 3rd and a long 3. Brunell chased out of bounds. Kurt Lurcher back at the 43-yard line. And again, give credit to Dwayne Patterson on that, as he got the initial pressure on Brunell.
One-man pattern to this side. Receivers unable to get over here into the flow of the play. Kurt Lurcher certainly able to get into the flow of the play. As you said earlier, Cleet, Mark Brunell rolling to his right. It makes it much more difficult to square those shoulders up with footing like this.
Cougar defense does its job. John Wardell on to punt it away. Wardell in the first half averaged just under 42 yards a kick on 3 efforts. He had a 65-yarder. He'll be kicking into the wind with Torrey Hunter back deep to receive. A low kick that will bounce inside the 30, and Hunter is going to pick it up in a gutsy play, and he'll end up picking about 5 yards up on the play. Tried to lull him to sleep.
The sleeper play. I'm just going to walk over here and yeah, here's the ball. He's just
looking pretty cat. Looks like an outfielder trying to deke a guy tagging at third. Yeah. Jamal Fontaine takes the bait. Ernie Conwell there to make the stop, but not before Torrey Hunter at least picks up an additional 6 yards for the Cougs.
They'll mark the football just inside the 30. Drew Bledsoe in the first half, 8 out of 15 through the air for 100 yards. No interceptions, no touchdowns. Shambe Wright-Fair had 60 yards on 12 carries. Bledsoe, the junior out of Walla Walla, over the football for the first time in the second half, and Wright-Fair goes in motion. And the pass is caught by Philip Bobo. Shane Kawakoa finally brings him down, close to a 10-yard gain.
Once again, Bledsoe, Bobo on the same page. The area vacated by blitzing linebackers. First down, Cougs. We also see a lot more empty seats. A lot of fans decided that one half was enough.
They were all Husky fans that left, I'm sure.
Philip Bobo now up to 139 career receptions, one shy of Doug Flansburgh. Wright-Fair, first down, run down from behind by Steve Hoffman at the Husky 45-yard line.
Pretty good job on the right side, just straight ahead zone blocking. Trying to create a seam. Hoffman there is able to get an arm maybe on Shambe, but he's able to rumble for another first down, and Cougars have crossed the 50-yard line, and so they've got to take advantage of this wind while they have it, and they're making a pretty good surge here. The first two plays of the series doing well.
Interesting that Washington State moved right down and scored the first time they had the ball in the first half, and then couldn't get things done. First possession of the second half, they are moving the ball very well. Wright-Fair will try it again, and this time Andy Mason is there to snuff that play out. Wright-Fair ends up falling forward for a gain of about 1 yard. Andy Mason looking over to the sidelines, see what kind of a defensive signal will come in, and he will also see Hillary Butler come in this situation.
Clifford came running off with a helmet problem there, just trying to dig out the equipment box from behind the benches that's been snowplowed under, and so maybe it'll take him 2 or 3 plays before he can get a new chin strap.
Second down and 9. 2 wide receivers left for Bledsoe. Still has the football after the play fake, going into the end zone. Wants Davis or Bobo. Touchdown, Washington State. Philip Bobo with the catch. Second touchdown catch of the year for Philip Bobo. 17th touchdown pass for Drew Bledsoe.
Well, here you see 2 guys just run into the post, and that's not the way this play is designed, but it's a fight for the ball, and that's a case of who wants it the most, and they run into the big drip. The key here was just the defense for Washington is able to get no penetration. Even when DeMarco Farr breaks free, he's sliding along and can't get in Drew's face. Drew lobs it down there, and the results are good.
And the Cougars are going for 2. They want to try to get a 7-point lead back. That's Schexnayder and Wright Fair both going in motion out of the backfield. Short drop. Bledsoe eludes one would-be tackler. 2-point conversion for the Cougars. That's Calvin Schexnayder on the catch, and it's Washington State 14. The Huskies 7 with 11:36 left to play in the 3rd quarter. Washington State has regained the lead. Philip Bobo doing his snowplow impersonation. Clete, take us through the 2-point conversion.
Well, they split out everybody, and we're just trying to get a pick play up top. Drew couldn't find anything there, and again, no penetration from the defensive down lineman, although DeMarco had his ankle wrapped up for a half a second there. Wasn't long enough. Drew slipped through there and was able to find somebody.
Let's go down to the sidelines and hear from Rich Waltz.
Bud, one of the big adjustments the Washington State offense has made, they are shortening up their routes. Receivers are running about 4 or 5 yards less. It has allowed them to move the football, and it allowed them to look deep. That brought the defense up. You saw what happened. Back upstairs.
All right, Rich Waltz, thank you. Aaron Price set to kick it away. The Cougars went 71 yards in 4 plays. Philip Bobo with the touchdown catch, and that catch, by the way, ties him for number 2 on the career reception chart at Washington State. 140 catches. He and Doug Flansburger tied. Only one man ahead of Philip Bobo.
Doug Flansburger.
Yeah, that's a...
Did I say Flansburger? Meant Flansburg. Did I add an ER to his name?
I haven't heard of either one of them.
Clete has. Out to the 27 goes Jay Berry.
It's you know, talk about records as you see the 4-play drive there with Bobo's catch, but it's interesting that those records that Flansburg and also Hugh Campbell had were back in the early 60s when you didn't throw the ball like that. It would make those records even that much more outstanding.
Mark Brunell and the Huskies come out for their second offensive series of the second half, and they will begin operations on about their own 27. And the crowd back into it, the ones who have come back for the second half. Napoleon Kaufman tried to find some room, and there wasn't anything there. The Cougar defense filled the hole as Kaufman saw something but couldn't get the feet going in the right direction quick enough.
It is a day for straight-ahead north-south running. Napoleon Kaufman's very good at that, but his real value is in finding seams and finding ways to get to them. This footing certainly takes away some of his shiftiness.
One of the things the Huskies have tried to do is come out here with 3 wide receivers and maybe make WSU commit a linebacker to a wide receiver and open something up in the middle.
12 carries, 45 yards for Kaufman. Brunell to throw, has the catch. Berry is run out of bounds at about the 32, maybe the 33-yard line.
Looks like they're actually going to mark him up a little bit farther at the 34, saying his forward progress had stopped up there. I'm guessing it's the 34.
Huskies once again just taking advantage of the cushion given to the receiver by the defensive back, Greg Burns. If you're a defensive back, the one thing you're trying to do, like Greg Burns, is keep your feet underneath you, keep the play in front of you.
3rd down and 3 for the Huskies. Brunell on the keeper. A beautiful fake to get the first down and plenty more. Finally run out of bounds. and very close to a late hit as Brunell ends up taking out one of the benches as Lincoln Kennedy comes over and talks to Singor Mobley. It was actually John Rushing who made the push, but there was no flag thrown on the play. But a beautiful ball fake by Brunell to buy the yardage.
Right there, you see the fake inside to Matt Jones, and then he does a good job of keeping the pitch relationship, of keeping the option alive. Don't let those defenders commit to you until you're already past the corner. Mark Brunell, 4.5 speed. John Rushing gets two-hand tag on him, and Mark Brunell puts a tag on that aluminum bench.
And you know that's cold and hard.
Gain of 23, ball on the 41 of Washington State. Matt Jones hit behind the line of scrimmage, and he did well just to pick up about a half a yard on that play. Ray Hall steps up.
That play designed more as a cutback than a fullback dive. Hard to cut back when you can't cut.
On the option, I think Mike Zimmer, the defensive coordinator, is going to try to wire down to his people that go ahead and let's force Brunell to pitch.
Sure.
Let's go ahead and make him pitch the ball one time, because you got pretty good odds that there's going to be a lot of concentration just on wrapping up that pitch and not trying to explode with it right away.
2nd down and 9 for the Huskies. Brunell, straight drop, has time, and that was a big hit by Anthony McClanahan. Ball was intended for the fullback, Matt Jones, and he had a piece of the ball and then got a big piece of Anthony McClanahan.
Huskies have a lot of respect for Anthony McClanahan. They feel this Cougar defense is as improved as any in the conference, particularly in the area of speed and of attitude. Anthony McClanahan exemplifies both speed and attitude right here.
You see Mark's just trying to dump the ball in a little circle delay route, and Matt just can't quite get wrapped around before Anthony nails him. So nice play by Anthony McClanahan, brings up 3rd and long.
3rd and 9, Brunell. Here come the Cougars after him. He could run it if he wanted. He throws. It's knocked down by John Rushing. Intended for Eric Bjornsson, but Rushing stepped in front and knocked it down, and the Cougar defense is held.
John Rushing with a nice play, kind of hiding behind the receiver, Eric Bjornsson, hanging in his zone. Mark Brunell fortunate not to have an interception on that play.
Anthony McClanahan also did a good job on that play as the spy. He sat right in front of Brunell and wasn't going to let him scramble, and he forced him to throw that ball in pretty good man-to-man coverage in the snowstorm.
Wardell to punt it away again. Line of scrimmage, the 40. Torrey Hunter sets up at the 10. And Wardell, a low driving kick, and Hunter will let it go, and it will just get into the end zone. By about a half a yard, the Cougars pick up 20.
That's a big play. That's a big play there for Washington State as that ball just trickles over the end line.
9:12 left to play in the 3rd quarter. Cougars lead it by 7. You're watching Apple Cup 92 on Prime Sports Northwest. Washington State with a 7-point lead and the football. And you can see the yard line a little bit better. They're plowing the field by hand. Husky Profile, Thursday, November 26th at 7:30 with Don Poyer and
Old what's his name?
Chuck Nelson gets to sit in.
Co-host of that show.
What are you going to be talking about on Husky Profile?
We have
how to thaw your toes.
Story about tailgating at Husky Stadium. A little bit of basketball feature on Rich Manning, women's basketball star Laura Moore. Husky swimming, both men's and women's. Look behind the scenes at some of the things you don't always see about Husky sport.
All right, Drew Bledsoe, some pretty good numbers. 156 yards in this snowstorm and a touchdown. Threw for 295 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Huskies a year ago.
We talked in our game keys about pressuring Bledsoe and how important that would be. Both the touchdown pass and the 2-point conversion examples of what can happen when you don't pressure Bledsoe. Those DBs can only chase those receivers around for so long before a guy of this skill will find somebody open.
Washington State went 71 yards in 4 plays last time they had it. Let's see what they do here from their own 20 on 1st down. Bledsoe will throw on 1st down and has some time and gets Brett Carolyn allowed the 1st down as he is able to elude the tackle and gets out beyond the 35-yard line. Don't see that very often. Dave Hoffman missing a tackle.
Once again, as we saw in the first half, Brett Carolyn just outruns Dave Hoffman across the field in the crossing route.
what Carolyn's got is an option here to go inside or out, and he comes out and actually does a little spin move or a pivot move. He gets Hoffman on one side of him and actually pushes off of him. And then he can create a little space between him and Hoffman, and he's got man-to-man coverage there. So nice job by the Cougar offensive coordinator to come up with something that works.
Pollard a gain of 17. The run to the right side gets a couple. Andy Tribble and Dave Hoffman saying hello after the play.
The lightest snowfall we have seen all day was at halftime. The snow took a break as well.
There you see the passing yards as Washington State has come out with their first drive and being able to put quite a few yards through the air, which is surprising with this type of situation we have here. But they're able to get Bledsoe time, and he's finding a way to deliver the ball.
2nd and 7. Bledsoe going to an audible now. Bledsoe throwing it upfield for Darren Pointer, who can't hang on. That's a tough catch on a day like today. Stretching out, and Pointer playing with a hip pointer as well.
He's also playing with Shane Palcoa, bearing down on him from that safety spot. That ball thrown a little high, force you to stretch out when you know there's a 21 bearing down on you.
Especially when he's a tomahawk from Marysville Pilchuck.
Here you see the two post patterns being run, the two slant routes, and if that ball's down a little lower, maybe Pointer has a chance. Good protection. Again, you see Jaime Fields being picked up by Sean Bay Wright Fair, an adjustment WSU has made this year to pick up outside Brusher.
And Michael Bailey able to get Andy Mason there as well. Long count by Bledsoe on 3rd and 7. And the audibles do a running play, and Wright Fair able to break a couple of tackles, and that spot is going to be shy of the first down by maybe about a half a yard.
Tough situation here for Mike Price. Not really a place you want to give the Huskies the ball when you do have the field position here, and I think that it's going to be a tough call, but with Bledsoe there and the field as slippery as it is, you've got the advantage of knowing when the snap's going to be called and when you're going to fire off.
You also have the advantage of being the underdog, playing at home. The weather's bad. Your defense has played good. You hate to say that he's got nothing to lose, because obviously he's got a lot to lose. But at the same time, you want to give your team every opportunity to put this game not necessarily out of reach, but farther ahead on your side.
Looks like the Cougars actually got a pretty beneficial spot.
They got a great spot, and I'm going to guess that they actually are about a half a yard short, a little shorter.
way to stall on that one.
I'm going to guess that they are actually a little short, I'd say.
The Cougars are going to go for it, it looks like.
Yep, they've got the two tight ends. Here comes Carolyn, and Bobo comes out, and they'll go for this.
Well, let's see what happens. They are at the 46. They're about the 46 and a half. They need to get to about the 47.
Everybody in the stadium, I think, knows where this play is going. And this is where you get to the part of who wants it the most, who wants this game. Little plays like this add up.
4th and about a half a yard. Bledsoe will dive over, and second effort gets it. That is a very difficult play for a defense to stop.
The offense has the advantage of knowing when the ball is going to be snapped, and so they can get that half a beat of leverage that the defense can't get. Bledsoe also makes a very smart play sliding off to the outside, because as you pointed out, everybody knows what's coming.
Watch Jamal Fontaine plug it.
I mean, he's just a big old horse. There's Hoffman, one of the best linebackers in the world, and it's like hitting a big telephone pole there.
Well, 6'6", you fall down, you got 2 yards.
Jamal Fontaine said last year, the first time he tackled Drew Bledsoe, he thought he had run into the goalpost. Bledsoe to throw on first down. Going over the middle for Pointer. This time he makes the catch. Good coverage by Walter Bailey, but Darren Pointer makes the catch of a very well-thrown ball.
The safety help from Shane Palcoa is there in position to make the play, but the indecision of whether to make a play on the ball or make a play on the receiver causes Shane Palcoa just to freeze for that half a count. Watch the inside help right here. Palcoa is there to lay the lick or make a play, but Walter Bailey forced to make the tackle.
The other thing that Walter Bailey can't do is close. I mean, he was in a position that on a dry field, he has the speed, the makeup capability to come over the top and knock that away, but you just don't have the ability to cut and close on that ball when it's floated up there like that.
24-yard gain. The ball is listed at the 23. Bledsoe, the quick out. C.J. Davis, 6th catch of the afternoon, a gain of 8. Washington State gaining some momentum right now.
Taking advantage of both the protection that Drew Bledsoe was able to get from his offensive line and the fact that they do have the wind at their back.
I'm amazed at how well Drew Bledsoe's throwing the ball as far as the accuracy that he has. He's done a real good job putting the ball in the chest area, in the cavity area where guys can cradle it right there. I mean, that's not an easy throw today. Plant and set that foot and get it out there. And I think the big hands are a big key for Drew today.
2nd and 2 from the 15. Right there, the setback. Little bootleg. Wanted Butch Williams. He's not there. Schexnayder, touchdown, Washington State.
Well, Mike Price liking this action, a good play call. I was expecting them to maybe try to take their time here and just punch it down the field, but they go with play action. That brings Dave Hoffman. He's picked up, and Schexnayder comes from across the field. He's being covered by Clifford. And again, just a great job of throwing and catching the ball in really bad conditions.
Also a great job of setting up situations where you've got wide receivers on linebackers.
Borden gets it down this time. Price boots it through. Washington State gets the extra point. 6:13 left to play in the third quarter of Apple Cup 92. It's Washington State 21, Washington 7. You're watching the Apple Cup on Prime Sports Northwest. Washington State with a 14-point lead now, thanks to this touchdown pass from Drew Bledsoe to Calvin Schexnayder.
As an offensive coordinator, you're always trying to design plays to create mismatches wherein you've got skilled people on big people. That time, James Clifford forced to cover Calvin Schexnayder, an outside receiver. Calvin has the advantage in speed in that battle. When you've got a quarterback that can stand back there that long, the longer Calvin Schexnayder has to run, the bigger that gap becomes between Calvin and Mr. Clifford.
Chuck, the Huskies facing something that they have not faced this year, a 14-point deficit.
Something they haven't seen much of over the last 2 years or 2.5 years. The Huskies 34-3 in their last 37 games. You're not going to be behind very often. They did a good job at Arizona of coming back to take a lead once. They've done that once here today.
Price boots it away. This one will be fielded by Jay Barry at the 12. And he is wrapped up and gets away again. We get a face mask.
A whole bunch of them.
A lot of crimson surrounding Jay Barry. The Cougars celebrate, but the Huskies will end up with some pretty good field position. Will it be a 5 or a 15-yard face mask? We will find out. If it's 15, the Huskies will be in very good shape.
Aaron Price doing a good job of kicking the ball away from Napoleon Kaufman. Jay Barry and Napoleon Kaufman have switched sides. Whenever they have, Aaron Price has found Jay Barry.
There's the face mask. You see Kevin Ashworth getting a piece. I don't know if that'll be 5 yards or 15. I'm going to guess it's 5, but I know where my allegiance
might say
lies.
15 on that one. And they actually got him a second time. As Calvin Schexnayder celebrates his 5th touchdown catch of the year. Darren Pointer had a big catch in that scoring drive as Washington State went 80 yards in 8 plays, took 2:59, and remember they converted a 4th down. It will be the 15-yard variety as they move the football out to the 37-yard line.
15 yards because he spun him completely around. Wasn't just an incidental grab.
I didn't know there were style points that you look for in that also. Throw out the high and the low. It's almost skating would be a better activity out here today.
3 wide receivers for the Huskies. Only Napoleon Kaufman in the backfield. He gets the ball and gets across the 40-yard line to about the 41. Chad Eaton in on the stop along with Chris Frank.
I like how these guys say, oh, I'm not going to wear a shirt underneath. I'm too tough. I'm not going to let that bother me. And then they put pads all the way up their arm to keep warm.
Well, I doubt Napoleon Kaufman has ever played in snow before.
Out of Lompoc, only his second year in Seattle. Certainly no snow in Seattle over the last couple of years. I'm not sure whether he's ever seen snow before.
Brunell with the play action. Wants to throw it upfield. Looking for Bruner, the tight end, and he threw it short. Singler Mobley had position. The Husky fans looking for interference, but Bruner was going to have to try to get through Mobley, who had position to get back to the football.
Contact made before the ball arrived, but don't know whether Mark Bruner's lack of opportunity to change direction is due to the lack of footing or due to the fact that Signor Mobley's in the way. Ideally, you Husky fans would think that Signor Mobley's not making a play on the ball while Mark Bruner is. When everybody's grabbing onto everybody just trying to stand up, it's hard to throw a flag.
Here's a situation where Brunell can roll out to his left. I'd expect him maybe to get out there again.
Quick pass, and it is thrown too high. Intended for Damon Mack, who paid for that one. Greg Burns with the hit from behind, and Brunell walking off disappointed about that pass, not happy. And it will be another John Wardell punt for the Huskies.
Face mask penalty on the kickoff gives the Huskies good field position. Plays like this take that field position away. You can see Damon Mack just squares it up at a point beyond the first down markers. The ball thrown high, unable to make a play. Huskies need to sustain some sort of offensive momentum, both for their own confidence and to keep Drew Bledsoe and that Cougar offense off the field.
Wardell, a high kick that the wind holds up. And the ball bounces around and is down. Darius Turner downs it at the 32-yard line or so. Had he been able to avoid that football, it might have gone on another 10 or 15 yards.
Well, let's see here how Mike Price is feeling about his offensive football team. If he's going to continue to throw the ball or if he's going to try to ground out some time on the clock and be more conservative.
Well, the Cougars have the wind behind them for 5-16. They have a 14-point lead, and as you can see, the third quarter has been good to them. Lately, the fourth quarter's not. Illegal procedure, it's going to be a first and 15 situation.
Robbie Tovek, a little off count there.
Getting back to what you were talking about, though, Clete, Washington State has been in the situation before where they've had a chance to deliver the knockout blow, and they haven't done that. And they've got an opportunity, if they can score here, to really put the Huskies in trouble.
Well, if I'm Coach Lambright, I'm going to start trying to make some things happen. I'm going to start risking maybe a corner on a corner blitz. I'm going to bring some people, maybe the free safety or Lewis Jones from his strong safety position, just to see if I can't interrupt the flow of things.
First and 15. Cougars have shown a tendency to go to right fair in this situation. See if they do. Nope, Bledsoe will throw. He's going to be pressured, gets it off. Philip Bobo, the comeback catch, and falls down about 2 yards shy of the first down. So a 13-yard gain as Bobo lost his footing with Hillary Butler there to influence him.
Once again, time to throw. Huskies playing a zone on that play. Philip Bobo just finds the gap. Bledsoe has time to find Philip Bobo.
Philip Bobo enjoying the last two outings against the Huskies. 9 catches last year. He has 4 here today and a touchdown. Huskies coming up on the line, showing blitz a little bit. Here they come. Handoff goes to right fair, who breaks through that initial blitz and gets out near the midfield stripe. Let's go down to the sidelines to Rich Waltz.
Thanks, Bud. One of the biggest adjustments that was made on the sidelines was by the offensive line of Washington State. After warm-ups, the offensive line went back in the locker room and put on longer cleats. And by the time that Drew Bledsoe is getting, it looks like that adjustment has worked. Back upstairs.
Interesting observation. Line of scrimmage, the 49, after that 9-yard gain by Chambé right fair. Long count by Bledsoe. Again will throw on first down. Wants to go deep up the sidelines and overthrows C.J. Davis.
got hung up a little bit, and Drew's going over to talk to the official, saying that you know, there was some holding going on. My guy couldn't get loose, but I think that one was just kind of thrown away. The Huskies playing bump and run, trying to make something happen again, going man to man and saying, hey, if you're going to complete a pass, it's going to be a high percentage or a low percentage pass. You're going to have to put the perfect ball in there over the top of us. We're not going to let you catch it in front of us like you have been doing.
Well, that Husky defensive philosophy is we're going to send a lot of people and put our defensive backs in man-to-man. They shouldn't have to cover your guys very long because we should get to the quarterback. That's not happening today.
Big gap for Wright Fair, and he is gone. 51 yards, touchdown, Washington State.
What do you say? Washington State has found the method to get the ball in the end zone. Had a lot of trouble the last couple, or at least the latter part of the season, and all of a sudden things are working right. You'd almost suspect that they were spending the last 3 weeks with the offense just planning for the Huskies instead of who they were playing, but they found the right deal. Here you see just picking up the blitz. You see the stunt coming in. Hoffman goes to one side, and he overruns the play, and there's a big gap created, and the defensive people, Jaime Fields, Shane Paucoa, can't get to Chambé, and he rumbles in.
Aaron Price to attempt the extra point, and he got it. 3 minutes, 57 seconds left to play in the third quarter, and the Washington State Cougars have a 21-point lead in the Apple Cup. You're watching Prime Sports Northwest. Chambé Wright Fair goes 51 yards for the touchdown, his 10th rushing touchdown this season. For Chambé Wright Fair, he now has 14 career 100-yard rushing games. He is number 4 on the Cougar rushing charts of all time, and the Cougars lead it 28-7.
And here you see the grounds crew out working on the pole plant area.
Those long runs, not unfamiliar to Husky fans. Huskies commit a lot of people to the line of scrimmage. The Cougars spread out the field. Once that running back like Chambé Wright Fair pops that line of scrimmage, there's just no bodies left, and it's a foot race. That time, Chambé Wright Fair is the Olympic champion.
The kick will go out of bounds, and the Huskies will either have Mr. Price booted again or take it at the 35, and probably just flat out take it at the 35 and see what they can do offensively.
I think that's what Lincoln Kennedy is nodding to, and here's Mike a little upset that Chambé Wright Fair in that last drive took his yardage up to 141 yards for the day. 4 plays, again a classic Cougar drive, not a lot of time taken off the clock, but at this point Mike Price has got to feel pretty good about his position in this football game. He leaves it up to his defense with 3:57 left in the third quarter here. Wind against Brunel's face.
Well, the Huskies have never been in this situation. Let's see how they react to it. Bjornsson and Barry, the wide receivers, to the left side with Napoleon Kaufman, Darius Turner in the backfield. There's the pitch, and Kaufman makes the catch. Eludes John Rushing, but can't get past Chris Frank and Mark Whitmire. They're going to call it a fumble. Cougars have the ball. First turnover of the day, and Washington State has the football at the 32 of Washington.
We talked about the Cougars trying to force the Huskies into a pitch because things happen when the ball is in the air. When the locusts come, they eat everything. Torrey Hunter celebrating the first turnover of the game. Napoleon Kaufman in the game in Arizona misplayed 2 punts and fumbled the ball deep in his own end. Lost his starting job last week, regained it this week. Big plays in big games by Napoleon Kaufman are supposed to be in the favor of the Huskies.
See if the Cougars go for the end zone. Bledsoe against the blitz, dumps it off. Butch Williams makes the catch, about a 9-yard gain.
Dave Hoffman's getting real tired of that play. He just doesn't have the capability to come up and jam the receiver like he normally would. And the Carolyn and Williams connection has come through today. Here, Drew just does a good job of avoiding Lewis Jones long enough, dropping back long enough to deliver the ball, and while it's not a first down or a big play, it's not a turnover, and a heads-up play by Drew just to get the ball in a place where Butch could catch it.
And gives you a great play call on 2.5 yards. Are they going to give the catch to C.J. Davis? Yes, they will. At the 17-yard line. And Washington State trying to deliver the knockout punch.
We talked about the Huskies on offense trying to come up with a big play. The Huskies on defense also trying to come up with a big play. They will be blitzing more, trying to force more turnovers, create some havoc. Talked about those big hands of Drew Bledsoe being an advantage. That strong arm does too. It's like paddling a canoe. You got to paddle faster than the current. You've got to throw it faster than the wind is blowing, and Drew Bledsoe can do that.
First down on the 17. Wright Fair is brought down at about the 15-yard line. Andy Mason on the stop for the Huskies. A happy Cougar sideline right now.
Tell you one thing, it's a lot colder over here on the Husky sideline right now than it is on that Cougar sideline.
There you see 2:20 left, clock ticking down. Washington State would like to punch it in again with the wind here.
Bledsoe had 3 wide receivers left over the middle, in and out of the hands of Brett Carolyn. Something you do not see very often at all. Brett Carolyn has an amazing pair of hands, and we got a flag on the play. And Drew Bledsoe having a chat with James Clifford, who I believe might have put the pop on a little late. Let's see.
Roughing the passer on Mr. Clifford. The ball's definitely gone, but Clifford coming off the block with his head down. Puts a shot on Bledsoe that the official determined was a little bit late. Cougars don't need any help right now.
You saw the hit that Bledsoe absorbed, and Drew just got up and went over to Mr. Clifford and told him what he thought of it. First and goal for Washington State. And the football will be at about the 8-yard line.
This is a spot where Cougars have been having a little bit of trouble. First and goal from out a ways. 2 tight ends, 2 wides, and Shambe in the backfield.
2:08 left to play in the third quarter. Wright Fair will try it on first down. Down to about the 2-yard line.
Good first down play. Shambe motoring those legs, popping them along there. A couple of guys, our neighbors here, Lynn Swan and his co-Hart doing the game for ABC, and I am sure they just can't wait to come back to the Palouse. Lynn Swan, is interesting, was out catching some of Drew Bledsoe's passes just to see how they feel at the cold air here today.
Sparks and Wright Fair fumble on the play. Huskies say they have it. Let's see.
In his hurry to get away from center and make a play, Drew Bledsoe.
Well, Drew or Tobeck doesn't have it.
And Robbie Tobeck, the 2 closest to the play, come up empty-handed.
There was something strange about the timing of that one from the start. Derek Sparks, the running back, was really leaning forward, trying not to make a step before the ball was snapped.
That pile also may be in the end zone. It may come out either a Cougar touchdown or a touchback, depending on where the ball itself is. You got to look at where DeMarco Farr is.
A lot of very interested observers, and this is a situation where, you know, there's just a fight down there for that ball, and it could be still going around.
To bring out the jaws of life to separate that down.
Washington State. How about that? Who are you going to credit it to? I don't think the Cougar fans care.
It could be Conrad Pimiskern's first touchdown. Could be a lineman at the bottom of that pile. No matter.
It's Pimiskern who's got the ball, and he's going to celebrate out of West Vancouver, BC.
6 points for the Cougars, no matter who's at the bottom of the pile. Not exactly as that play is drawn up. But Conrad Pimiskern will have some stories to tell now.
Conrad is usually the left tackle, and he's in for Bob Garman at the right guard position, and so he's better give an assist to Bob Garman for still having that stinger.
Don James obviously not happy with the way that went. That was The slowest developing fumble Ruski you have ever seen in your life. But there is a flag on the one. Let's hold off for just a second.
I think there may be a personal foul penalty here, and I'm not sure if it's an offsetting deal because there was the pile down below and a lot of guys swinging around after the touchdown signal was called.
There may also be some delay of game or excessive celebration on the part of Mr. Pimiskern.
Somebody's
personal foul and an ejection.
Jamal Fontaine has run off the field, and we will not say that it was specifically him.
Here's the play, and you see that Drew kicks it around, it's pulled forward, and there's Pimiskern, and you can see him just scoop that ball in, and he said, look what I found, 6 points.
That's amazing he was able to hang on to it that long in that pile. His younger brother will stay on and make sure there's a Pimiskern on the Cougar football team here, redshirt freshman. Boone Borden will hold it for Aaron Price, who will try to tack point number 35 on the scoreboard.
Maybe he'll hold it. He's had a little trouble. It's slippery and he's cold. It's a tough job. Somebody's got to do it.
Still 1:25 left to play in the third quarter. The spot is good, after the snap is good, and the kick is good. Washington State has exploded in the third quarter. 35-7, the Cougars lead the Huskies. You're watching Apple Cup 92 on Prime Sports Northwest. There's the Cougar offensive line huddling around the coaches and the heater on the sideline.
The Huskies have given up 29 points in this third quarter. Up to this point this season, only 3 times have opponents managed to score even twice in a quarter. Excuse me. California scored 9 points. Arizona and Oregon State each managed 13 points. We've seen the worst quarter of football the Husky defense has played all season.
Price will kick it away from midfield because of the penalty. And he will step up and just root it deep, and it will sail out of the back of the end zone. Even went through the gendarmes who are back there getting ready to protect goalposts, perhaps. Cougars go 34 yards in 5 plays, 2-2-2, with Conrad Pimiskern getting the touchdown on the recovery.
Fumble recovery on each end of that drive. That short field set up by the fumble by the Husky offense and Napoleon Kaufman.
Washington State with a tremendous day offensively. They are 1 yard above their season average at 400 yards of total offense.
Officials having a little problem getting the chain set down. Lincoln Kennedy saying, get the act together over there, Mr. Official.
That's only the 3rd time all year that the Huskies have given up points off of turnovers. The Husky defense up to this point had allowed only 3 opponents, Stanford, Arizona, and Oregon State, to score following turnovers. The Husky defense has done a good job of dodging bullets, but that time it took a bullet to the heart.
Well, going back to what we talked about earlier, we talked about the Huskies needing to create some turnovers because that's what had been hurting Washington State. And that has not occurred today for the Huskies. Huskies need to make something happen in a hurry now, and nothing happens on that play. Jay Berry swarmed under, might have lost about a yard. Chris Frank, a senior out of Junction City, Oregon, getting an opportunity to play quite a bit in the second half of this, his final game in Martin Stadium. And Don James knows his guys need to get something going offensively in a hurry.
If you're a Husky offense that's has managed to put only 7 points on the board through almost 3 quarters of play, you need to obviously make some changes to try to put up 29 points in a little over a quarter of play. Got a Cougar defensive timeout. This could go back to that freeze theory that Cleat was using earlier. Let's make this game as long as we possibly can right now.
Well, on the look on Don James there, I think it's working because he's a little frigid on the sideline.
He's also abandoned the glasses. We saw Mike Price with the snowstorm on his glasses. Coach James not going to take that chance.
One of the coaches in that huddle there for the Huskies on the right of your screen, Steve Morton, the new offensive line coach for the Huskies. This has been a bittersweet, emotional type day for Steve Morton.
Well,
played at Washington State, coached here at Washington State.
Coach Morton gave the inspirational address to us in 1982 when we came out and beat the Huskies here in the balmy confines of that day. But it was just an amazing thing to me to know that he, as a player, had beat the Huskies and considered that his greatest achievement. As a coach, beating the Huskies was his greatest achievement. Now he's over here, and we finally infiltrated the Husky system. And I don't want to say that Coach Morton is throwing the game, but at least we have an inside track here.
Maybe now he will say that one of his worst experiences as a coach was losing to Washington State. It has not been a kind pavilion for the Huskies.
Well, one of the things...
88, 92 apparently. Well, even the series played in Pullman at 3-3.
Brunell set the throw, now takes it down and wants to run it, instead dumps it off to Berry. And Berry gets across the 30 out to about the 33. It's good enough for a first down for the Huskies.
Once again, the time-buying capabilities of Mark Brunell. Damon Berry was open right from the get-go, but Mark trying to look downfield and make a big play. Damon Berry, not the initial receiver, not my first choice, says Mark Brunell.
You can see how difficult, you alluded earlier to the wind blowing down there and how tough it is to see. You can see how Brunell was really having to squint to look over to the sidelines and see the play call.
Well, the wind is certainly not blowing any less or any lighter. It is picking up, if anything.
First down, Brunell, quarterback draw. Gets a little bit of a block from Joe Kralik, breaks a Torrey Hunter tackle, and has room up the sideline and goes out of bounds. And this time, John Rushing tries to help him from going into the bench.
Either helping him from going into the bench or holding him up, holding both of them up.
Trying to decide who's going to go down and who's going to land on top. It's a good job and some sportsmanship showed by the Cougars. We're not really known for that in this game, and I like to have a talk with the guy that held him up.
One of the first quarterback draws we've seen the Huskies run, that is called quarterback draws. You can see right here on a dry field, Mark Brunell turns that corner and is in a sprint. He's unable to get turned upfield to go straight ahead. The Huskies with only 29 seconds left of going into the wind.
Brunell almost lost the snap. Sends it up for Jones, who makes the catch and is wrapped up immediately. Gain of about 5 on the play.
Also keeps the clock running as Matt Jones is tackled in bounds. Mark Brunell and the Husky offense has run their last play into this wind.
None too soon, says Brunell, as he's looking over at the frozen tundra that is the Husky sideline. There you get a good look at senior Curtis Gathers as the third quarter runs out.
And 15 more minutes of football. The Cougars will try to gather an Apple Cup victory over the Huskies. 35-7, Washington State leads it. You're watching the Apple Cup on Prime Sports Northwest. Washington State leading Washington 35-7 as we begin the fourth quarter in snowy Martin Stadium. Washington State trying to end a 3-game skid in this Apple Cup and give Mike Price his first ever victory over the Washington Huskies. It is not exactly the type of weather that you could fashion a wonderful comeback, but Washington State struck for 29 points in the third quarter, so to say that the Huskies can't come back in the fourth would be closing the book a little too early. Let's go back to the sidelines and hear from Rich Waltz.
But I think you're right on that. In fact, Mike Price's demeanor right now is almost like he's behind 35-7. He is all business right now, and he's keeping a very, very close watch on the scoreboard. Injury report, there are none. Neither trainer expects any. In a game like this, you usually don't get many. Back upstairs.
And back down on the field as we see Mark Brunell and the Huskies. And the question that comes up now is if this score holds and Washington State comes up with a convincing win over Washington. The Cougars finished the season at 8-3, and according to a number of reports heading into this game, even a big Cougar win would not get Washington State to a bowl game. And you don't have to be a Cougar fan to say that this team at 8-3 not going to a bowl would be a crime.
Well, I think it would be a crime if there were, if there were other teams out there that were 8-3 that were being selected for whatever reason. But there's nobody out there that is even
There might be some teams that are 6-6 that get to go, though. 2nd down and 3, and that pass surprised Jason Shelley. He thought it was going to the other freshman, Theron Hill.
Surprised Greg Burns in there also, because he was probably the one that was closest to the ball. Here you see the third quarter statistics, and just huge on the side of Washington Washington State as far as the passing yards. I mean, look at that, 252 yards just in that quarter alone. An amazing statistic.
Total offense for Washington State in that third quarter, almost 250 yards. 3rd and a long 3 for the Huskies. Brunell pressured, and he'll go down. Ron Childs led the way. One of the very few times Washington State was able to finally collar Brunell behind the line of scrimmage.
Again, trying to get him to his good side. Little play action out of the I formation, and Lewis Bush does a good job containing Brunell, making sure that he doesn't get around the corner and run, because that's been the most effective thing for the Huskies today, is when he gets loose and creates something there. He was in the pocket, and it collapsed on him, and a big play for the defense.
Well, that 3rd down situation set up by the miscommunication on 2nd down between Brunell and Jason Shelley. The play was there, the ball is delivered. Jason Shelley just not looking to his quarterback at the proper time. Be 2nd down Huskies if that play is run correctly.
John Wardell gets the kick away. It's a good one, and Torrey Hunter calls for a fair catch and lets it hit.
Can't run now.
And now you can't run it. There's going to be a flag as he picked the ball up at the 3. They haven't thrown the flag. Now they do. Torrey Hunter was going to call the fair catch and let it bounce into the end zone, but it didn't bounce into the end zone.
Change to plan B in mid-stride there, although plan B is illegal. Husky defense at this time is certainly going to be trying to create turnovers in field position.
There's a flag about 4 yards behind, or on the Cougar side of line of scrimmage.
I think that was the initial offsides
against Washington State, which the Huskies would no doubt decline.
An illegal procedure on the fair catch against the Huskies. That's where it was signaled, but that's not right.
I want to clarify something on the ejection on the touchdown. The Conrad Pimmiskern fumble recovery for a touchdown. Jamal Fontaine, not the player ejected. We still do not know who that is. You got to look at the penalty right there. It's obvious a fair catch call. When you put that hand up, you take yourself out of the play. Obviously, Torrey Hunter tries to put himself back into the play.
Well, my question is, can you decline that and take it at the 1? Or is it an automatic penalty?
Well, I'm assuming you could probably decline
because he almost ran into the end zone and actually came out on about the half-foot line, and I think that's probably what the discussion is if we decline it, where does the ball end up?
That's what Josh Moore is asking. Obviously, some things iced up.
Just out of courtesy, we thought we should be quiet while we heard the call from the field.
It makes it easier to read lips when you're not talking yourself.
That's true.
The electronics are a little bit frozen down there, and we don't get the call.
Brett Carolyn on the sideline getting a play call from Mike Price. Washington State will certainly be conservative here. They're cold, they're wet, but they're happy.
Ecstatic. These opportunities haven't been very available for this Cougar team. All these games that I've been occasioned to watch here in the 80s and 90s have all been close ones on the win side, and there's been very few opportunities in this whole relationship of the Apple Cup where Washington State has jumped out to a commanding lead like this and just playing out the fourth quarter. So a whole new ball of wax. I kind of like it over here, Chuck. How about you?
35-7 is a lot rosier from the 35 side.
A little rose cheap shot in there. I like it.
It's going to get interesting. Don't go away over the final quarter just because the score's not close.
They're so sensitive. Yeah, they're so sensitive. I just didn't say anything.
Well, I was going to be nice, Chuck, but I was going to say something about maybe it's you, because the last time that I
you were going to bring
was in contact with you I think it was 10 years ago.
I have not had great success in Pullman. This is my second. Actually, I've been here third. My brother actually went to Washington State. Visited him once back in the pre-college days, and then 2 trips here as a Husky player and Husky alum have apparently generated 0 for 2. I will be banned from Pullman by the Husky coaching staff if this continues.
We'll bring you back. Honorary Apple Cup member Chuck Nelson. We'll have a little seat for you all ready to go.
I'm going to speculate that the ejected player on that last touchdown was Shane Palcoa. Lamar Lyons is seeing his first action of the game, replacing Shane Palcoa.
And the rest of the starting secondary is intact. Ball is on the 3, and that's Derek Sparks, who almost broke all the way out. And he'd been able to take another step or two and maintain his balance. There was nobody between him and the snow in the end zone.
Well, if there's two players that you would expect to play well here today in cold weather, it would be Sparks and Burns. Both have played well.
I like it. Sparks was down at the 9, and it will be 2nd down and 5. Derek, the sophomore out of Santa Ana. He's in the backfield again behind Drew Bledsoe. C.J. Davis, who's had a big game, comes in motion. Sparks will try it outside, and he gets the first down and tried to change direction, but that's what happens on a field like this.
That was a cut.
Trying to change direction, possibly as well trying to stay in bounds and keep the clock running. If I'm going to fall down, keep it in bounds. The clock stopped regardless because of a holding penalty apparently against Washington State, or a penalty of some sort.
Looks like holding against the Cougars. That's one thing that, at least at the start of this game, the emotions were running high. We had a couple of personal fouls, but it has calmed down, and we have not seen an extensive number, at least, of holds and that sort of thing. But then again, when it's as slick as it is, it's tough to hold a guy unless you're falling down. What if those whistles have frozen up?
Oftentimes those P's get stuck to one side, get a little spittle in there, and the P gets stuck.
You notice they're not using the metal whistles that stick to your lip in the frozen weather.
13 minutes to play in the football game. Washington State on top by 28. Bledsoe to throw, guns it out. Boone Borden makes the catch. And he gets the first down. Heads up play by the senior, who doesn't get a whole lot of experience, just his second catch of the year. And look at the smile on Drew Bledsoe's face as Boone Borden makes the catch.
Good strong throw.
One thing Drew Bledsoe does extremely well is throw the ball outside on this route, creating an opportunity for the player to turn upfield after the catch. Boone Borden this time turns upfield enough to get that first down.
Daniel Boone Borden, his full name. First down play for Washington State at their own 14-yard line. Sparks. Not much there. Ran about 5 yards, but didn't gain any. And we've got an injured Husky, Andy Mason, getting up a little slow. He's got a knee brace on that right knee and kind of flexes it as he gets up and limps away.
Cougars trying to go back to a little bit of ball control, eat some clock, get out of the snowbank in the back of the end zone. See Drew Bledsoe use that 25-second clock, try to run as much time with each play call off as possible. So they're in no hurry to come out of the huddle.
Borden, Scheck-Snyder, and Davis, the three seniors, are the wide receivers. Sparks, play action, Bledsoe holds it forever. Now Steve Hoffman with the pressure, and it's incomplete.
Not sure.
Also trying to take time off during the play.
Yes,
Let's
yes.
see, I don't want to hurry this throw because it might take 3 seconds off. I mean, this has just been an unbelievable turn of events as far as preparing for this game. You would have thought the Huskies would be able to get quite a bit of pressure. This is regular speed here, people, and finally Hoffman comes loose, and Drew throws the ball to a safe area.
Huskies do have all 3 timeouts left. We're looking for some positive news with a 35-7 deficit to overcome.
Little pressure again. This time Bledsoe guns it out, and the pass intended for Boone Borden is incomplete. And Drew Bledsoe goes back to say a little something to the Husky cheerleaders in the back of the end zone.
Lamar Lyons, the free safety who's in for Shane Paukoa, is getting a little bit of a tongue lashing from Clifford. Here comes the blitz late.
You see the reason that Drew Bledsoe was back by the Husky cheerleaders. James Clifford with a little shoulder pad shove.
Well, the Huskies will come after it here, you can bet. Napoleon Kaufman is the deep back.
Cougars have had 3 punts blocked on the year. The Huskies trying to create a big play.
Johnston gets it away, and it's not a great kick, but it will get the job done under the circumstances, and the Huskies will have great field position at the 39 of Washington State. 11:51 left to play in the football game. Washington State leading it by 28. You're watching the Apple Cup on Prime Sports Northwest. Washington Huskies will have the football, but they trail by 28. Need to get something going offensively in a hurry here in the Apple Cup. More college volleyball action for you on Prime Sports Northwest. The Eddie Bauer tournament. The North Carolina Tar Heels will take on the Washington Huskies. That'll be Saturday, November 28th at 3:30 in the afternoon, right here on Prime Sports Northwest.
One of the MVPs of today's game. Snowplow drivers, snow shovelers, doing their best to keep the field at least legible, if not playable. College football teams always love to be on TV. The only drawback is when you get weather like this and you get a lot of TV timeouts, you spend a lot of time standing around. Mark Brunell, that Husky offense would like the chance to get something going. See Jason Shelley and Napoleon Kaufman. You're going to see a lot of the big play type players for the Huskies try to get the ball now. Napoleon Kaufman and Jason Shelley, 2 players that certainly are able to create something in a hurry.
You see the guys trying to keep the feet warm. No happy feet.
There are not many of those in this stadium at all. Huskies with the ball on the 39 of Washington State. Brunell with the deep drop, going forward in the end zone, trying for Theron Hill, and it was over his head as the adjustment was made. Hill kind of slowed up just a little. Actually, Jason Shelley, excuse me.
We talked about Jason Shelley trying to get the ball in the hands of your big play players. That time a very well thrown ball. Jason Shelley misjudged the wind carrying this ball. You see right here, he's got the 2 steps and he starts to slow down. Receivers on deep passes are taught, don't put your arms up until the last minute if you're running, because you slow down when you put your arms up. Wind carries that one just outside the grass. That would have been a nice 1-play drive for the Huskies.
Instead, 2nd down and 10 for Brunell. Shorter drop this time, shorter route, and he overthrew the tight end Bruner.
Almost was caught by Theron Hill, but he juggled the ball a little bit. I like to think that that's who Brunell was throwing to. They were both open.
Should Theron Hill catch that ball on the first touch, it's a 1st down for Washington. You see already one of the reasons that this Husky passing game has taken a while to get on track. We've got two true freshmen have had opportunities in those last 2 plays. They're finally getting up to speed.
Little dump screen pass to Kaufman, who makes the catch, but will get nowhere near the 1st down.
Great play by Singor Mobley out there as he's able to maneuver around Bruner, who is up there on the little quick screen out to the side, and he was the sole blocker, and Singor was the sole defender, and he was able to move the feet around quickly in the snow and get around the corner. Make the tackle.
Mark Bruner unable to transform himself from route runner to blocker soon enough to get a block on Singor Mobley.
Huskies have no choice but to go for it on 4th and 6. And Brunell goes to an audible with the 3 wide receivers slotted to the right side. He's going to have to try to run for it. Now buys a little time, and here comes the pressure again. And Brunell goes down, and the Cougar defense has done the job. The pressure by Todd Shaw, also by Ray Hall, Kurt Lurcher, Lou Bush, Dwayne Patterson, and it has been a frustrating day for Mark Brunell.
The Cougar defense does a great job of applying pressure, forcing Mark Brunell to freelance. He is very good at freelance. Seeing that time, no help. The receivers downfield. Nobody came back. Nobody ran to open space. Turnover. Washington State first down.
And here's how long of a day and how cold of a day it's been. The chain gang is just set up on the 49, which is where the ball is, but they had the chains going in the wrong direction. Now they've got it straightened out, and we're ready to go again.
Coach James has his defense surrounded around him, and I think what they're telling him is, hey, I want to finish this game. Don't lay down. Here you see the replay. Brunell has plenty of time, but no one's open. The Cougars adjust and play almost a prevent type of secondary, and again, they do a pretty good job of forcing him to stay inside and also go to his right. And the sack, a big turn, and just kind of an indicator of how things have gone. The passing yardage for the Huskies is just, or the passing game has just been non-existent. Here you see Chambé Wright Fair outgaining Washington on the ground, 152 to 111. Great day for Chambé, a great way to go out as a senior on this football team.
Coming into this game, Wright Fair second in the Pac-10 in rushing yards per game, second to Russell White of California. And depending on what White has done in the big game against Stanford, Chambé may go out in his senior year as the leading rusher in the Pac-10. Mike Price still pensive, pacing the sidelines. Don James not happy with the way things have gone, but he knows things happen like this to you. Games like this will happen, and he also is secure in the knowledge that his team will have a chance to play again this year. In this season, I should say technically, I guess. As it will be the first day of 1993 when the Huskies play against the Wolverines of Michigan in the Rose Bowl. Bledsoe being pressured, gets rid of the football. It's intercepted. Jaime Fields with the interception. And Drew Bledsoe trying to make something happen that time, and it backfired on him.
Well, he knows it. He knows that he's got away with that a lot this year, where he's been able to pedal backwards and stiff arm somebody, and here the play breaks down from the very beginning, and Hoffman gets his arm up where he doesn't allow Drew to follow through, and Jaime's right there for the interception. So I guess if there's a time to make a mistake like that, it's when you're up 35-7 and only 11 minutes left in the game.
That's also a time where the only thing that can beat you at this point is to make plays like that. We will draw a parallel between 1992 and 1982. In 1982, the Huskies 7-0 and ranked number 1, get defeated and knocked out of number 1, come to Pullman and get beat to end up 9-2. We see an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty being called against Washington State. That'll add another 15 yards onto that Bledsoe mistake. The Huskies will be down at the 22. But again, this season, the Huskies, this time 8-0 and ranked number 1, get defeated in conference and come to Pullman and apparently will be defeated, or will pull off one of the great comebacks in Apple Cup history.
The difference being here, however, the Huskies are going to the Rose Bowl.
Have already clinched the Rose Bowl.
The pitch to Jay Berry, and Torrey Hunter with a beautiful tackle.
And also that play, another example of what this field has caused the running backs to do. Jay Berry with 10 yards to make a move on Torrey Hunter elects to run straight at him because a move doesn't do you any good.
A move just takes you down sooner.
It just takes up time.
There's some faithful.
Is that the man from Glad?
He's glad he has that.
Tell you, these fans down in this left end zone have been staring into this raw wind and snow for 3.5 hours.
Brunell the throw in and out of the hands of Damon Berry.
Young wide receiver core, not used to playing this kind of weather. I don't know anybody that's used
Damon
to playing
Berry's
into
from
this.
Colorado.
Well, maybe he is, but unable to come up with that catch. You see the wind still whistling through.
Not a day the Pullman Chamber of Commerce likes to have on TV.
Do they have a Pullman Chamber of Commerce?
You betcha. Absolutely.
Trips to the right for the Huskies with 10:29 left to play in the Apple Cup. Brunell to throw. Over the middle, knocked away. Greg Burns stepped in front of Eric Bjornsson again. Burns, Cleat, has improved dramatically this season.
Well, we really didn't know that much about him coming into this season, and he's been on that weak side corner position, and here he comes in, steps in front of Bjornsson, the converted quarterback, and almost had a pick there. Pretty good pressure that time by Washington State as they came with McClanahan and Childs.
4th and 9, and the Huskies, of course, will go for it again. Darius Turner and Jay Berry are in the backfield. Jason Shelley and Joe Kralik are the receivers. Brunell pressured again, throws back to Berry. He's got an escort out front. Fumble, Cougars have it. It doesn't matter. They're calling it an incomplete pass. Thought Berry had made the catch, but either way, incomplete. Catch and a fumble or catch and a tackle, it's Cougar football. And the defense has done it again, and they'll get a great ovation as they go to the sidelines.
The Huskies in the previous series unable to take advantage of the field position set up by the short punt. This time unable to take advantage of the field position set up by the interception by Jaime Fields. That ball takes so long to get there that Jay Berry knows that somebody's got to be bearing down on me. I better get out of here in a hurry. Unable to keep his eye on the ball and make the catch. He did have a lot of helpers. This is fun time if you're a Cougar offensive player.
Sparks gets out to about the 22. We saw Shambe Wright Fair go off the field, and they worked on his ankle for a while. I would have to guess that Wright Fair's ankle too tender for him to come back. Otherwise, I would think he might get a swan song as a senior playing in his final game here in Martin Stadium.
Well, we've got just about, you know, the guys that are in position to play, like C.J. Davis and Sexsnyder and Boone Borden, who normally doesn't play but as a senior is out there. Also Butch Williams. There's guys that are getting their last reps in, at least in a Cougar uniform.
2nd down and 8 for Washington State. Bledsoe again trying to use as much of that play clock as he can. And Sparks will go up the middle again and fall forward and slide to about the 27, maybe the 28-yard line. Well, Washington State fans certainly encouraged by what has transpired here today, and they've been encouraged all year long by the defense and the fact that, with the exception of Kurt Lurcher and Lewis Bush and Chris Frank, who's played extensively today, everybody back. Very deep and very young defense that Washington State will have back to play against Don James and his Huskies again next year.
Well, the other thing that Washington State might be thinking a little bit about is why didn't we spread these points out over a couple of these other games instead of saving them up? On the other hand, they might just like this just as well.
3rd and a couple, and Sparks is drilled by Jamal Fontaine behind the line of scrimmage. Hillary Butler came up to help out, and Washington State's going to have to punt the football away.
Well, we touched on it earlier. If the Cougars do indeed hold on to this margin of victory and this victory, 8-3, possibly not good enough for a bowl game, would be a major argument for college football playoffs in this division. If you have 8-3 teams that don't get to go to bowl games, the bowl games have argued long and hard that we exist because we're a reward for good seasons. That way we have more winners instead of just one champion. But if you're going 8-3 in a conference as strong as the Pac-10 and not being rewarded, where is the value in the bowl game?
Johnston's going to run for it. He's got a chance to get the first down, but he's brought down about a yard shy of it. He couldn't handle the snap. So the Huskies again are getting another chance as Richard Thomas made the tackle. We'll take time out with 7:55 left to play in Apple Cup 92. Washington State leads at 35-7. Huskies with the football following the failed punt attempt by Washington State. Brunell still at quarterback with the backs of the eye. He's going to throw forward as Darius Turner if he wants him. Instead, he's going to have to try to step up and run it. And he eludes a couple of tacklers and sneaks past Anthony McClanahan. Gain of about 8 on that play.
Well, the Huskies down 4 touchdowns. Need obviously 4 scores. You see Mark Brunell getting up, having a little tenderness in that left arm. That field getting a little stiff down there.
He got drilled with a helmet at the end of that play, too. I mean, if I'm Don James, maybe I'm thinking a little bit of time to put Ewart in here and preserve my quarterback for the Rose Bowl. No use, you know, having him go down and having someone have to start the Rose Bowl game as their first start.
Ewart apparently ready to go. He's got the jacket off on the sidelines, and he's set to go into the ball game. Swing pass to Napoleon Kaufman. And he ends up losing a couple of yards. We got a flag down at the 20 as well.
Well, you talk about opportunities. As I said, the Huskies need to score 4 times. This is the 3rd consecutive drive they've started inside the Washington State 40-yard line. They are able to punch these 3 drives in. All of a sudden, you're only 1 score behind. The penalty against Washington State.
See if this is a big one or the little face mask.
Did we do this once before?
Yep, we did. Looks like it'll be the small one, but the first down comes with it.
Ball's going to be spotted at about the 18-yard line. Mark Brunell out of Santa Maria, California. A remarkable comeback from the knee injury, and it's wonderful to see that he is able to move as well as he still does after that major injury. And here he goes moving again. Gets around Anthony McClanahan and gets hit hard at the 3, and his momentum will take him down to about the 2-yard line. Brunell has scored the only touchdown of this game for the Huskies.
Almost got another one there as he's able to scramble right up the gut. Receiver is unable to get open, but you see he'll make his move on the spy, Anthony McClanahan here. He goes up with the arm, and Anthony can't plant and cut and get back to him. Singor comes in, gets a piece of the face mask again there, and Brunell is probably looking for a little help there from the official again.
There are some people open downfield. You do wonder whether those white jerseys actually make a difference trying to find people in against that snow background.
Napoleon Kaufman, second effort, gets him very close to the goal line.
Huskies certainly want to score, but they would like to score as soon as possible. Also sets up, if the Huskies do indeed score, this is a perfect field if you're going to try an onside kick, because it's easy to create a chaos situation.
You're not going to get many high bounces, though.
They're just going to try to scoot it on the ground and hope that some of those gloved hands are unable to come up with it.
Second and goal from the 1. Brunell will try to sneak it himself, and it looks like the surge got him in. It did. Mark Brunell with his second rushing touchdown of the game. 5:50 left to play. The Huskies still need a bundle. They trail 35-13.
Touchdown number 8 on the ground for Mark Brunell. Huskies look like they will go for 2.
It's a higher percentage play, the way that it is out there on the field trying to kick a slot ball through.
If successful with this, they pull to within 20 as opposed to 21. Still takes 3 touchdowns to win. 2 touchdowns, 2 two-point extra points, and a field goal is still only 19. A little curious as to how the numbers work out on this one. What the advantage is of being behind by 20 versus 21.
Probably your kicker can't separate himself from the bench he's been on. He's frozen to it.
Brunell rolling out, looking for that 2-point conversion, and throws it, and it is caught. Damon Mack for the 2 points. So it's 35-16, 5:50 left to play in the football game, and we're probably going to see an onside kick in just a moment. But first, let's take time out. Washington State leads it 35-16, Washington State. 5:50 left to play in the football game. It is 35-15. I tried to give the Huskies a 3-point conversion there. That would help them get back into things a little quicker.
Take what they can get.
Travis Hansen will be set to try what you would expect to be an onside kick attempt. Washington State expecting that. They have the hands team in. Philip Bobo is the deep back.
Huskies making no attempt at disguising their intentions. 8 players over here around the numbers on the near sideline. Travis Hansen teeing it up on the far hash.
As you can see, they're going to get a running start. I like this idea. Surprised more teams don't do this.
Well, as a kicker, you just try to time it. Basically, as soon as they cross that 30, you start going. The one thing you've got to do as a kicker is kick it 10 yards. That's the one mistake you can't make.
Never made it far enough. Cougars will get the football at the 41 of Washington. Travis says, well, I tried. I'll sneak back over by the heater for a while.
Well, he probably kicked it exactly like he's been taught, but no bounces there. As you see the Huskies scoring drive, again, the short field. Unell with a couple of key runs in there to put another 6 points on the board, and then throwing for the 2-point extra point. Washington State now in pretty good shape here, recovering that onside kick, and the field position at least is not going to be an issue, at least unless Bledsoe decides to do one of these late game, let's keep it a little closer feels.
Trips left for Washington State. Wright Fair back in, and he gets nowhere, gets to the line of scrimmage. DeMarco Farr coming up, and Steve Hoffman. Mike Price, Mike Levenseller on the Cougar sidelines.
Cougar blood runs deep on that coaching staff. See Mark Brunell, not the way he wants to finish his Pac-10 career. Senior quarterback has come back from a lot of adversity. Rose Bowl MVP, blows a knee out, demoted to second team, now has had his opportunity, has played very well. His two best career passing games were last week and the week before. As you see Chambé right there with his second big play of the game.
41 yards to go with a 51-yard touchdown run. Chambé Wright Fair with 11 touchdowns this season.
Coug fans digging it. Chambé Wright Fair, just a quick hitter. Nothing but straight ahead zone blocking. Washington tried to make the penetration coming from the outside in and just didn't quite close that little gap down. I'm surprised it just didn't jump in the air and do a swan dive into the snow. Nice bit of blocking up front. Nothing real special Chambé had to do, just cart that ball into the end zone. Having a heck of a day, though. Great way to go out.
190 yards rushing for Chambé Wright Fair. Aaron Price boots it through. 5 minutes exactly left to play in the football game, and Washington State can celebrate 42-15, the lead over the Huskies. You're watching Apple Cup 92 on Prime Sports Northwest. Well, let's take a look at the Chambé Wright Fair touchdown again. He got to the hole quickly and nothing but snow in front of him.
He got to the end zone quickly as well. No fingerprints on number 32.
That was one of those deals like he had a perfect field of powder in front of him. He's going to make his own tracks down there, look back and enjoy it.
Chambé Wright Fair, 190 yards in this game against the Huskies, his career high. And he will, if he doesn't carry the football again, end up about 20 yards shy of moving up into the number 3 spot all time on the career rushing charts at Washington State. But I'm sure he'll be happy just knowing that he goes out with a 3-touchdown, 190-yard performance against the Huskies in his regular season finale.
Drew
The
Bledsoe.
question then is this Drew Bledsoe's regular season finale. You can look at this from two perspectives. Either he's optimistic about Cougar football if he does indeed return, or you can look at it as, hey, I've had a great finish.
Aaron Price's kick goes over near the sideline. It will go out of bounds, so the Huskies will get it at the 35 again.
Well, when they told him to keep the ball out of the hands of Napoleon Kaufman, I don't think that's what he had in mind.
Well, Mark Brunell is going to go back out. The scoring drive, 45 yards in 2 plays. Took just 50 seconds. It was a 41-yard scamper by Wright Fair.
As a Cougar, it's great to see these seniors who have not beaten the Huskies to go out with a big win. And I know it's something they'll always remember. The Huskies, their seniors have accomplished just about everything that you can accomplish as a Husky football. And the Washington State's got to be real proud. Their seniors have to be real happy that they've got a shot to win here too.
James Clifford, the only Husky who was a part of that 1988 loss to Washington State will be 1 and 2 in Pullman. You try everything you can to cover up skin.
Necessity is the mother of invention here, and I'll use a frozen towel to block the wind.
Or the old-fashioned way, get by the heater.
Just give enough time to say we're number 1 and then get right back to that heat.
Clock moving, 4:20 left to play in the football game. Cougars and Huskies playing out the string. Pass is caught by Damon Mack, and he gets out to about the 46-yard line. Should be good enough for a Husky first down. Stops the clock.
Damon Mack, a senior for this Huskies that has put in a lot of time. Saw his first starting action this year. Right behind Orlando McKay and Mario Bailey. You can see there's a bit of anxiety to get this over with on the Husky sideline.
Brunell trying to buy a little time again. And will simply try to save time by getting out of bounds, and he's chased out by Kurt Lurcher. Stops the clock with 3:52 left to play in the football game. Washington State, after having given up 111 points to the Huskies in the past 2 years, they've held them to 15 in this one.
Up until today, the most points the Huskies had given up in one game, 16.
Well, last year, Washington State scored as many points as anybody did against the Huskies and moved the football very well. And this is an improved Washington State team and a Husky defense that's not quite the dominating force. The pass is caught by Jason Shelley. It's a foot race, and Shelley is dragged down from behind by Greg Burns at about the 7-yard line. Shelley showing a little glimpse of the Husky future, using some speed to get ahead of Greg Burns.
You get an idea of what kind of speed he has. He has 18 catches on the year, number 3 receiver on this Husky team, averaging over 18 yards per catch.
Brunell calling the signals at the line of scrimmage now. We'll spike it down to stop the clock. 3:37 left to play. And Don James chatting with the coaches up in the press box here at Martin Stadium. This is one of those days where you don't mind being a coach in the press box.
It's one of the advantages of being up in the glass enclosed press box here.
Huskies having given up over 100 yards to Chambé Wright Fair. Haven't done that since the middle of last season. The first time this year anybody's gone over 100 versus the Husky D.
Second down and 8. Brunell on the option. There's the pitch back to Jay Barry, and he's going to lose about 4 yards. Greg Burns with the emphatic toss down, and the Huskies thought that Barry was already out of bounds, but not the case.
Jay Barry, another senior. I tell you, the seniors here for the University of Washington have been a part of a major turnaround. They remember back to that 1988 season, 6-5, no bowl game for the Huskies.
Well, I think Anthony McClanahan has just been ejected from the game. I'm not sure. There's a flag down, and Anthony's walking off with his head in his helmet and exulting the fans, but I think he's been given a heave-ho. I'm not sure.
I want to correct myself on that 100-yard stuff. Mario Bates of Arizona State had 2:15 in the opening game.
Anthony McClanahan looking a little like a speed skater on the sidelines.
Hard shank look. Going way back.
I was going to say way back. Well, McClanahan had some things to say during the week, backed it up on the field, and apparently had a little something to say as we got near the end here.
He just wanted to get over the heater. He said, what's the quickest way out of town?
Huskies haven't given up over 40 points in a game since September 30th, 1989, when Colorado came into Seattle and laid a thumping on the Huskies. Seeing some things on the part of Washington State that Husky fans have not seen in quite a while.
We hope to make it something that's kind of a tradition.
They give up the middle, and the progress will be down to about the 3 as Darius Turner gets down there. They mark it inside the 3.
Darius Turner, another senior that has seen this program go from no bowl game to national championships. May see the Huskies actually drop out of the top 10 this week. It's been almost 2 years since they have not been in the top 10.
Well, lost today by the Huskies, and Michigan being tied again by Ohio State this time will take a little luster off the Rose Bowl.
Well, 3 weeks ago you were looking at a #1 Huskies versus a #2 or 3 Michigan Rose Bowl. Now you may have neither team in the top 10.
TJ Folkers with the big hit on Jay Barry. Barry able to fall forward to perhaps just inside the 2-yard line. Cougar defense would love to keep the Huskies out of the end zone here.
TJ doing a pretty good job of lowering the boom there and gets a little finish-off help from Lurcher, another senior that's doing his last game. Big Gallagher goes flying over the pile.
Clock winding down to that 2-minute mark. Washington State will have an opportunity to savor an Apple Cup win here in 1992. Burnell into the end zone, and we might have some interference called. Nope, no flag. Greg Burns wrapping around Jason Shelley to knock that one away. It'll be 4th and goal from the 2.
Well, you're not going to get a break. You're not going to get a break.
And they haven't gotten many today. You're just going to be able to see the quick slant here, and Shelley has inside position. The officials right there, though, saying the timing was there as the ball was there. Greg Burns agrees with that call. Just a sophomore.
Ernie Conwell, another tight end, comes in. Jay Barry's in. Darius Turner is in. Shelley is the lone wide receiver. Bruner and Conwell, the 2 tight ends. They'll try Turner, and he gets it into the end zone for the touchdown. So the Huskies cut the margin.
Says the senior scores what may be his last touchdown. Straight ahead football once again. Or give it to a big guy. You see him going to run behind a big guy. Ernie Conwell, Lincoln Kennedy do a great job. Darius Turner just gets on the hips of the big number 75.
You can see that 230 pounds went right through TJ there. TJ got the first lick in on Jay Barry, and they gave it to the big steamroller. Turner had a great career as a Husky.
Huskies will go for 2 again. Barry lined up as a wide receiver, now goes in motion. And Burnell's pass is caught by Barry, so the 2-point conversion for the Huskies. 1:49 to play in the football game. It's Washington State 42 and the Huskies 23. And we are just about wrapped up on another Apple Cup. You're watching Prime Sports Northwest. 42-23, Washington State over Washington in the Apple Cup in 1992 with 1:49 left to play in the football game. The most consistent thing about this game has been the snow and the wind.
It has not let up. If anything, has accelerated. Huskies once again will try the onside kick. You see more celebration on that Cougar sideline. Last year's Apple Cup saw the Huskies score the most points that the Huskies have ever scored in an Apple Cup. This, the second highest point total ever for Washington State. They scored 53 points, or 52 points in 1973. Only the second time they've ever been over 40.
Hansen gets the kick further this time, and there is a scramble for the ball, but the Cougars cover it. Washington State with 463 yards of total offense, and Torrey Hunter having some fun. And Walter Bailey knocks it away, and Torrey goes back, say a little something, and the officials come over and get him out of there. Torrey is never at a loss for words, that's for sure. And Drew Bledsoe is still in the contest. Might even be to the point where Mike Pattinson too frozen to come in.
There's no way, Coach. I can't do it. That global warming theory has just been reversed.
Ball is on the Husky 48. Huskies can stop the clock, so Washington State will, instead of just taking the snap and setting down, try to move it and get a first down or so. And Derek Sparks busts it through. He says, hey, I saw Sean Bay do it a couple of times. Maybe I can sneak through and get a touchdown. Well, Chambé Wright-Fair has completed his Cougar career unofficially 190 yards rushing in today's game and 3 touchdowns.
Great day, did a good job of taking care of the football too. There weren't any turnovers that were directly related to the running game. Drew had an interception, but they did a real good job. One of our big keys today was don't turn the ball over, and especially don't turn it over early. Did a good job taking care of a slippery rock today.
2nd down and call it 6 for Washington State, and Sparks tries the right side, gets to about the 40, picked up a couple of yards on the play. Mike Price counting down to his first ever victory over the Washington Huskies.
I think this is the first time that he's going to acknowledge that this game's over. He's going to look up there and he's going to think to himself, yeah, let's go to the knee, let's call it a day, and he's going to start to celebrate a little bit, because this has been a long time coming for a guy that's put up with a lot of abuse here in the local papers, and congratulations goes to Mike Price and his whole Cougar team. They did a great job today, prepared well. I think if one of the things that might be the real tell of this game is the Cougars were able to decide which plays would work for them and pull those out of the hat.
Drew Bledsoe takes a knee, and that'll be it. Apple Cup 1992 is history, and Mike Price isn't going to allow himself a smile until it is all over. And here come the fans as well.
Everybody's out sliding around. Drew Bledsoe's going to keep a hold of that ball. You put that in the trophy case.
The clock is now beginning to move, and Mike Price will allow himself to make his way across the field. A tough day for that young man, but he's got a Rose Bowl to look forward to. And the countdown, and Mike Price now says it's okay. Lincoln Kennedy and Drew Bledsoe, a couple of All-Americans who just may see each other again. Aaron Price with his dad. It was back in the Arizona game when the Cougar players kidded Aaron about saving his dad's job by kicking a game-winning field goal, and now the Cougars can celebrate an 8-3 season, and that's what this one was all about, the Apple Cup.
All the Cougars gathering in the middle of the field for the singing of the fight song. It's something that this is going to have an extra special meaning to it. Always when you get the Huskies on your home turf and you can sing the praises of the fight song with all your buddies, it's going to be a great celebration and a great game for Washington State.
And when's the last time you saw this? A win by either team in the Apple Cup where the fans storm the field, but no one goes near the goalpost.
That's probably why they have those double standards down there. You got 2 of them up there, harder to get down. I could make a comment about it's been so long since they had a big win, they don't know they're supposed to tear down the goalpost, but I'm not going to.
You're not going to make that comment. Well, we haven't maced anybody here.
Interesting scene going on in the field that you are seeing right now. And what sort of an impact might this have on this young man's future?
Well, I'll tell you, in '82, I got that ride, and I know what a great thrill that is, and Drew's going to be able to remember this one. It's a great feeling when the guys that are in your dorm and your fraternity and your pals, we're all one together here, and it's a great ride, believe me.
You'll notice, too, that they're carrying him away from the locker room. They want to keep him on the field as long as possible, not just tonight, but for another year or so.
A victory lap, if you will, in Martin Stadium. The Cougars have defeated the Huskies 42-23. We'll be back to wrap it up. You're watching Pac-10 football on Prime Sports Northwest.